Good morning, Internet. Thank you for being with us here on Insight Checked. We are so excited to launch our current Monster of the Week campaign. For those of you who have, not seen Monster of the Week before, you're in luck. We have VODs on YouTube. You can watch all of our previous mini campaigns. And this one we're kicking off today. It'll be every Sunday for the next 3 Sundays, including this one. 9 a.m. Central to 1 p.m. Central-ish, noonish, depending on how long the adventure goes. So glad that you're all with us. We do RPGs on Sundays, we do video games on Thursdays, and then we do sprinklings of nerdiness in between. So if you're new to the channel, welcome. And I see some familiar names in chat, so hello to all of you. Let's jump in here. I think, let's see. Let's explain what we're doing. So Monster of the Week is a tabletop role-playing game. For those of you coming from backgrounds like crunchy systems like D&D 5e, or other things that are very like GM focused, where the GM's like setting the playing field and you're playing in it, Monster of the Week is a Powered by the Apocalypse system game, which is very collaborative. So we had our session 0 yesterday, and the players and I co-created the worlds that we are going to be playing in today. It's a very cool setting. I'm excited for you to find out more about it. Our characters are off the wall, and I'm just so thrilled to see the adventures that they get into. A Powered by the Apocalypse uses basic moves and playbook moves, and it's a 2d6 system. So if you're interested in learning more about it, it's Monster of the Week, and you can just sit back, relax, and watch us take you on a monster hunting adventure. It's kind of reminiscent of Buffy, Supernatural, Dresden Files. There's a large investigative component at the beginning, and then our monster hunters always end up kicking butt of a yet unidentified monster at the end. And with no further ado, we're going to turn on our televisions, have Monster of the Week kind of like fly towards the screen. Our campaign name, Above and Below, kind of rises up and also drifts down from both the top and bottom of the screen to form the title sequence. And then we zoom into our players, our characters. So as the music is playing and kind of like everyone's getting amped for episode 1, we cut to Delilah. We see you on screen. What is your character doing? What kind of cinematic do we see as the show begins?
Absolutely. So Delilah, this dark-haired woman on a motorcycle, pulls up in this alleyway that's like full of detritus and broken pieces of buildings, and she hops off her motorcycle very daintily and pulls out this spray paint can, and shakes it and begins to spray on the side of this alleyway. And she writes, "Capitalism Kills," but in this very elegant cursive, this very, very nice handwriting, and kind of nods in satisfaction to herself.
Love it. As the scene kind of zooms into the drying spray paint, what, like a neon color, are you thinking? It's like a neon green color that kind of splashes up on the screen, and it fades into Vara. What do we see as the paint kind of drips down? What is your character doing?
I am very stressed in a very sad looking cubicle. I have a planner and I have every letter that is coming in for every single application, and I am just trying to eat my yogurt at the same time, not having a good time, a little bit away from a mental breakdown, but keeping it together.
And we see kind of Vara's like forced smile reflected in the spoon sitting in her yogurt cup, and like the sun glints off of the metal and it just shines really bright into the camera, and the camera then shifts to the next scene, which is Cassandra. What do we see when your character appears on the screen?
So we see the inside of a pretty dingy bar. You can sort of see outside through one of the windows. You can see a flashing of the sign for the bar. It's hard to make out exactly what it is, but it seems to be a person with there's just a very prominent butt. Just, that's the way it is. And she's just sort of sitting in a corner nursing a drink when she sort of, with nothing really prompting it, just sort of looks up to sort of one side, kind of staring into nothing, sighs, then sort of stands up and moves a few seats over as someone just comes slamming into the bar right where she was just sitting. And then she just keeps on drinking.
Awesome. Do you see like furniture breaking?
Yeah, probably the bar stool gets a bit cracked, and then probably like a glass shatters on the bar and there's a bit of a spill.
Awesome. So in kind of the shattering of the wood of the bar stool and like the glass, like all of these shards then like fly at the camera and hit the camera and then just kind of like drag down, and we see again Above and Below appear on the screen. And that is our intro for our show. So if our lovely players could introduce themselves and their characters who we will be seeing throughout this campaign. Let's kick it off, same order, let's kick it off with Hedge.
All right. I am the most honourable Lady Delilah Minerva Littlethorn, and I am playing the wronged. I don't know how much we're supposed to say.
Yeah, what does your character look like? And kind of like what is the version that they would say about themselves, like meeting someone new?
Totally. What would she say about herself? She's a woman with dark hair, harrowed eyes, clothes that are black leather, heavily modified with patches, embroidery, pins. She's very, very crafty, very fashion forward. And she carries herself with a certain poise that only a lifetime of etiquette lessons could instill. She would describe herself as quite the revolutionary, very, very rough and tough woman of the streets, very, very gruff, but as we shall find, she is indeed quite refined at heart.
Awesome. What are you wearing?
She is wearing black leather pants, black leather boots that go all the way up, and a black leather jacket that's covered in patches and pins and shit.
Love it. And what do we tell us about yourself, Tech, and tell us about your character. Oh, you're muted.
Thank you. Frequent office occurrence. I am playing Vara the Divine. I am a Thunder Elemental analyst, grunt worker. I look like this, except slightly more bags under my eyes. I work for worked somewhat remote office, worked for the electric company section of our world. I was a very committed little worker bee, and I try my best every day, even if it makes me want to die inside. I have a little thunder hammer. It shrinks down to keychain size for easy portability because we're practical. And she has a cat.
Ah, what's the cat's name?
Benjamin.
Lovely. What does Benjamin look like?
He's a little orange cat with like little white stripes on his tail.
Oh, Benjamin.
There's lots of pictures of him in my cubicle.
Of course. Of course. Awesome. And Pauline, who are you and who's your character?
I'm Pauline. I'm a bit new to this stream, but I'm very excited to be here. And I am playing Cassandra, who is the Spooky. She is very just nondescript, kind of short, longish brown hair in a French braid, wears very sort of plain clothing, jeans, boots, hoodie. But she has just kind of just very plain looking brown eyes. But very few people willingly keep continuous eye contact with her for some reason. They just all kind of get freaked out and stop, which definitely does not give her a complex. And then the only sort of accessory of note is that she has a pendant, which basically just has a sort of rough-hewn chunk of rose quartz just hanging on it.
As a necklace?
And she's just, yes, as a necklace. And she's really just trying to get by at this point.
Makes sense. Makes sense. My goodness, what a team. So as you have set the scene for your characters, I will now set the scene for where you guys are. This is a world that we co-created, and we will kind of zoom out and look at it as a whole before zooming into where your characters are in this moment. So as the camera's circling around this city, well, for those of you who have seen our other campaigns, this all takes place in the same world, but very discrete places. So this particular city is within a large body of water that stretches as far as the eye can see. It's very insular, very like island setting. However, there's nothing tropical about it. It's a large kind of spire of rock that juts out of the water like a skyscraper, going straight up into the sky for miles and miles. At first glance, it kind of looks like a natural rock formation, maybe something you'd see at like Bryce Canyon in a national park, just kind of a rocky kind of tower going up into the sky. But as you look closer, you notice that there are kind of tubes that run up and down this rock face, man-made, constructed of some kind of hard plastic or something that with like metal rings around it in certain areas that keep it formed and functional. But they run up and down this rock face. At the very top, the tubes terminate into what you notice kind of floating near the clouds as the clouds drift in and out of your view, kind of obscuring and revealing the top part of this spire. You see a city floating up here in this impossibly tall, thin, rocky formation, a city that has kind of plateaued at the top. There are buildings and golden rooftops glinting in the sun. There's a waterfall that is indeed kind of like jutting out over the side and spilling down into the water below. There's beautiful birds cresting over the rooftops. It's just very idyllic, very peaceful up here. The camera then kind of pans down, following along the tubes again, going below the surface, and it plunges into the water. And underneath this kind of idyllic setting at the top is the bottom, the below, very kind of rusted out metal blobs that are kind of affixed haphazardly to the rocky bottom of this spire. Some of the bolts look a little tenuous at best, like they might at one point disconnect from the rock. So some of these like little metal orbs are just kind of like drifting almost like buoys underneath the surface. Very like metal that needs to be polished, like very dark rust-colored, earth-colored metal blobs that just kind of balloon off of one another in a kind of cluster, like grapes, like metal grape orbs, just kind of like building off of one another, going off of this rock. And as we zoom into these orbs, you can see that there's windows. People have kind of smudged off some of the grime to look out into the water below. And in one of these smudgy windows, you can kind of see a room. The room is full of papers. It has your stereotypical string conspiracy board kind of on the back wall with like red string pulling in between pictures and places. The three of you find yourselves in this room with the company of someone that you know quite well, Odie, or short for Odysseus. This is the headquarters of your organization. Your organization is called the Charybdis? Is that the correct pronunciation? Charybdis, which is kind of a monster hunter phenomenon-seeking organization that is based out of what we call here Acheron, or Poseidon's Deep, the below city. The three of you have ties to the above, but right now you are very much in the below, submerged underwater in a rusty little bubble, sitting in a room with Odie, who is a lanky young man. He has dark brown skin, kind of like pale hazel eyes, hair that has been kind of cut short, like in like a crop cut. He's got what I can best describe as like Matrix 1 attire, like when they're on the ship in the Matrix and everyone's wearing like fisherman sweaters that are like really stretched, very long and like kind of like patchy and stretchy. Just kind of looks like a rough urban fisherman look. So Odie is sitting there, just kind of at the head of the room, almost like a teacher, pointing at the board, the conspiracy board, and looking at the three of you and saying, "Guys, pay attention! This is important stuff! This is the fate of the world rests on our shoulders, and you're daydreaming."
My apologies, Odie. I was simply distracted by your fisherman's coat short. It is quite on point, really. But what were you saying?
Well, I only own 2 sweaters. Thank you. I know I don't have a lot of nice clothes like you, Delilah.
Oh no, that's simply not true. I am, of course, a member of the hoi polloi, as you are. Quite.
What did you say? He looks to Cassandra. What did she say?
I think she was just saying that you're, she's just like you. I think.
He looks to Vara for confirmation. You're still muted, girl.
I'm muted. You are doing fantastic. Disregard. You look amazing.
Good. Yeah, okay, great. What I was saying is that, as we know, capitalism kills. He uses his little pointer to point up to the large font that's at the top of this poster that says "Capitalism Kills" in like really big, thick black marker. And he's like, "I've been putting together a bunch of news stories that have happened lately, and I really do think that something fishy is going on here in the Undercity, in Poseidon's Deep, but also up above. There have been a lot of reports of people going missing at their workplaces. But the weird thing is that," and he kind of like stops and like looks at the board and turns back to all of you, kind of pivoting on his heel. He takes a moment and like picks up a cup of like steaming tea and just kind of like holds it for a moment, kind of like breathing it in, calming down. He's like, "The weird thing is that I'm only getting these reports from people that weren't there. All the eyewitnesses say nothing's wrong. I don't know about you guys, but I think something is afoot here."
Well, that's quite unusual, wouldn't you say, Cassandra?
I mean, if those are the reports you're getting down here, I'd say it's unusual. But I mean, up above, it's, you see things and you just don't mention them.
That is quite true. That is the case, certainly. It's quite important to keep mum, isn't it?
Yeah. So the reports from up above don't surprise me if everyone's saying they didn't see anything. But down here, no one should care that much.
That's what I'm saying. He kind of gestures around at this like very rusty looking room. It's like you're in the inside of a submarine with just like really big lag bolts and like kind of like a patented metal all around you. There's like a swinging light bulb overhead that's just been creaking as you guys have been talking. And he's like, "Yeah, I mean, if anything, as we know, we should be demanding better work conditions." And he points again at the board with his pointer stick. "Capitalism kills! Why aren't people upset? Why aren't people worried?"
Seems in this case it may literally be killing someone, although we don't really know what's causing this. Clearly it's hard to get information if they're covering it up, but Var, have you heard anything at that workplace of yours?
Well, we do have a lot of applications coming in because our turnover rate is really, really high. I'm not sure if it's really from people disappearing or people just being fed of 9-to-5 slavery. It's kind of unsure, but I get more and more applications every day because there are more positions to fill.
Fascinating. Well, so, dear Odie, if you're not hearing this from the people, from eyewitnesses, as it were, where are you hearing this lovely gossip? What's your source?
Well, I mean, don't judge, but after our meeting the other day, it was pretty heavy stuff. So I did go to the bar for a little while, maybe for too long. And I met with your friend, Calliope, the tattoo artist that you're always hanging out with. And I mean,
of course.
she kind of passed on the information to me.
Perhaps it would behoove us to pay her a visit. Not that I have any ulterior motives, of course. Calliope is just a friend. But, yes, wonderful. Perfect. Quite. Odie, I assume we are being tasked with this, of course.
Well, I mean, I am paying you guys to be my only staff. If you think it's a worthy mission, I myself do. And he kind of like again like takes a big like whiff of the tea to calm himself down. He's like, breathe in and out, breathe in and out. I think this is the thing that could shake us up. I think this is the thing that could really wake people up to the fact that we're all being oppressed down here. I just can't imagine why people aren't more upset.
Well, in my experience, once you have a job, you don't leave by choice. So I think something's up. Something's wrong.
I heard that there were disappearances. Well, I mean, people who weren't there are saying there's disappearances at the places that work for the electric company. And he kind of nods to Vara, taking note of kind of your folders of applications and general work attire. Do you think the electric company that you work for has like a badge of like a symbol?
I have this little thing. It's like a little silver shield thing that just comes as part of the blazer, but we're gonna say yes.
Awesome. Maybe like a shield with like some lightning bolts on the front or something. So yeah, he kind of gestures to the badge. And also says, there was also, kind of word that something was up with the Plumbers Guild. And he kind of looks at you, Delilah, but like looks away really quickly as he says that. Like he's a little worried.
Yeah, we're both aware of what's going on here. Cassandra, perhaps you can use your skillful wiles in deducing the future. Have you foreseen any of this?
So it's not really. So it is. I mean, it is kind of the future, but it tends to be the future like 5 minutes in the future, not like 3 days in the future. It's far more. It's really useful situationally. It's not so useful on an overarching let's plan our lives out kind of.
Odie leaps up onto the desk, kind of still holding the tea in one hand, and it like slashes over the rim of the cup. And he's like, "What am I gonna do next?"
I imagine you're going to fall off the desk, but that's just a guess because you're a bit clumsy.
He is teetering on one foot. Kind of, you can see his pants have slightly raised up to reveal like really thick wool socks that are knitted different colors, kind of going up all the way underneath the hem of the pants. And he has mismatched shoes, and like the laces are all frayed at the end. And he's got very much like an Oliver Twist kind of vibe. And he's like, "What? I don't." And like his ankle just kind of wobbles, and he topples over, landing into the chair that's right next to the desk. The chair rolls backwards, and he kind of bumps gently into the conspiracy board. His tea clatters onto the ground, and he's like, "You are amazing."
Like I said, I didn't need magic for that. You've gone up onto that desk more than one time trying to prove a point, and you fall every time.
And every single time we remind you that there's a regulation for fall protection if you're going to be 2 feet up in the air, but do you listen to us? No.
He sheepishly like rubs the edge of the desk where there's many shoe prints, just trying to like smudge them out. All right. Well, I still believe in your powers anyway.
They're definitely there. They definitely exist. I'm just saying they're very good for short term, not long term.
Well, in the short term, if you guys could do me the favor of seeing if we have any leads on where to start investigating. I mean, we're the only organization doing what we do here in Poseidon's Deep. And we're the only ones looking out for everybody. I think there's a lot riding on our shoulders. And I know, he says to Vara, I know that there's a regulation that says we can't put too much weight on our shoulders, or whatever you told me, but I think this is a metaphorical weight, so I don't know how that counts against the regulations.
It hasn't yet been quantified. It's going to be discussed in the next meeting about bylaws, but you can always bring it up.
He just shudders a little bit and he's like, I don't know how such a corporate entity has made their way into my presence, but I think maybe it'll be for the best in the end. Like, know thy enemy, right?
You love me.
He's kind of like sheepishly like blushes and like puts his hand behind his head. Yeah, I mean, okay. All right, Monster Hunters. Where to? As Odie has given you 2 leads on places where disappearances have happened, and also an eyewitness or a non-eyewitness to this event.
All right, Cassandra, with your foretelling knowledge, with your deep, innate knowledge of the future and your incredible, witty, analytical mind, which of these leads do you foresee giving us the best outcome?
Again, not through magic, but just if most of these leads came from Calliope, we should probably talk to her first.
I mean, not that I'm biased. I certainly have no agenda in this situation. I'm a completely neutral party, but of course, I would not mind a quick trip to Poseidon's dumpster, as it were.
Happy hour reservations?
It is quite early in the day, but it is indeed happy hour somewhere.
What time do you guys think it is?
10 a.m.
It is 10 a.m.
Fantastic.
Is the party heading to Poseidon's dumpster?
Yes, all right then, Odie. We will take care, old chap. We will see you later. We're going to Poseidon's dumpster.
He is still sitting in the chair, kind of like almost like slumped over from how he fell into it. His legs are just kind of splayed out in front of him, and he's just got like the schlumpy posture. The tea is just spilled all over the ground, and behind him you see all of these like red strings on the board connecting newspaper clippings and like small things that he's written. You see your own handwriting kind of in there connecting other dots. And he has this as the large backdrop as he's just kind of like haphazardly like, good luck. I'll be here if you need me. And certainly if you need anything, just let me know. I'm your guy behind the scenes. I'm your, and he kind of looks at Vara, biggest fan.
I'm just gonna, there's a sign on the wall as we're leaving that says there's been 1 day since the last fall, and I'm just gonna erase it and put a 0.
As you all exit your headquarters, you move away from, so this headquarters had been in one of the protruding kind of orbs that are out into, everything's just below the water, floating in the ocean. But as you move into the interior of Poseidon's Deep, or Acheron is his formal name, you move away from the windows, away from the sights of like water and kind of like floating garbage that kind of drifts past the windows. Like, it's not idyllic. This isn't a glass bottom boat experience. This is like you're in some refuse, which is being pumped out of this underbelly and just kind of generally floating around you guys. So you move away from the sights that surround you into a more interior space. There's a lot of kind of like steampunky clockwork type stuff, like gears and kind of steam kind of venting out of the walls. Metal clicks underfoot as you walk through the corridors heading towards Poseidon's dumpster, a dive bar. Literally, you'd have to dive to get there, which has a little bit of a porthole, I guess, in the bottom with some diving gear so that you can suit up and then dive down to get into the entrance of this bar.
I just folded my blazer metaphorically because I'm not gonna take it off, and just so it doesn't get so wrinkled in the dive.
I simply detest getting my hair wet, but here we are, here we go. Nothing wrong at all with that. I'm a woman of the people. Indeed. Cassandra, lead the way, dear.
Yep, diving gear and just like, all right, every time.
Cassandra, I would like you to roll Act Under Pressure as you don the diving gear and lead the party through this small undercurrent of garbage and refuse floating around in the water towards the dive bar entrance.
This is gonna be funny. That's a 6.
A 6, all right. Would anyone like to roll Help Out? And if so, how are you helping? As a reminder, to help can buff a roll, can like prevent failure, but if the failure remains, you share in the consequences.
I would like to help. I'm going to say I'm going to try to help by I took a class on like fully assembling yourself in diver's gear, and I did a really good job at having a good score in terms of speed. So that's how I'm going to assist with the other buckles and things, getting them on quickly.
Awesome. So as Cassandra is like pretty much diving in without like the fins like fully secured and like it begins to flap away, you're like up as you kind of affix it in the correct way. Go ahead and roll plus cool for Help Out.
5. Oop. We're not doing well. We're not doing well.
So unfortunately, a 5 does not allow you to help. You are able to like affix the fin correctly, but you just haven't taken into consideration that Cassandra, this is like not second nature to her, and she has not done a course like you have. And there's so many like loose flaps and belts and things that haven't been affixed that you're like, I got the fin, and then you look up and she's just like basically like a kid in like a snowsuit that's like unzipped with like the mittens flapping. Like there's just a lot of loose things going on here. So on your Act Under Pressure roll, you do take a fail on that. And the, of course, it's really funny. In real life, I did exactly what Odie did with his tea. I like spilled it slightly on my hand in my own excitement. Is Odie me? Yes. He is. But yeah, so as you fail your Act Under Pressure roll, you're able to make it to the dive bar. However, you arrive in an utterly bedraggled state. You kind of have a little bit of the bends, like you're a little dizzy, you're soaking wet as garbage water has kind of penetrated your suit. You look like a drowned cat, basically, as you roll up, Cassandra. But you are able to still kind of successfully arrive unscathed, other than your pride.
She doesn't have much pride to begin with, so this is fine. I think she sort of arrives and then just sort of stands there dripping, waiting for everyone else, and is just like,
the people in the bar, which are strangely plentiful for 10 in the morning. It seems that, for better or worse, there's a lot of reasons to drink in Poseidon's Deep. And so there are at least 4 to 5 people in the bar. They all kind of look over to you as you just like stand in a grate that's set up near the front of the door, and water is just kind of dripping down. And the bartender's like, don't you move a muscle, sweetheart. You got to drip off first.
I know. You know this has happened to me before. I know.
That's why we got the grate installed. That's your spot.
Oh no.
But the rest of you make it there, into the bar as well. And although I hate to pause the narrative, I do need to clean up this coffee. So yeah, we're going to take like a 1-minute break because I'm a total klutz, and we'll be right back. All right, we're back. Let's never speak of this again.
Speak of what?
What? Speaking of people not noticing things, you step into the bar. Cassandra drips off all of the kind of smelly garbage water that entered into your scuba diving suit. As you see, there is Calliope sitting at your usual table, Delilah, where you usually share a drink. Usually a nightcap, but in this case, she's there early in the morning. And there are a few other people there. You see one of them is much like you, Vara, in that one of the patrons has kind of like a crackling electric energy around them, and you notice there's like a hammer at their hip, and they're kind of nursing a drink as well. Calliope herself is a kind of short, like a cropped hair on one side and like kind of a straightened bob cut on the other side, bleach blonde, tons of tattoos. Like you can see the tattoos creeping up the neck and her arms as well. And she's got kind of like a biker's gang attire, like lots of like chains and leather and just really big, almost comically big boots. Just like, I don't know what kind of work you would ever need to do in boots like that, but they definitely make a statement. And then other patrons in the bar as well kind of like give you a nod as you all arrive.
All right, so here's the game plan then. Vara, perhaps you may wish to converse with that electric gentleman there.
I don't know him, but I'm sure we can find some common ground. I'm still a little concerned that Cassandra's gonna get sick, so I have what I need when I need it. So I'm just gonna pull out a little pocket-sized hairdryer because I have an emergency kit that comes out of thin air. So I just pull out a little pocket-sized hairdryer. I'm just like concerned for her health.
Cassandra, you see kind of a hairdryer appear out of seemingly nowhere on Vara's person and begin to dry you off from, I mean, the stink remains, but at least you're feeling a little bit drier.
I feel like this has happened before, probably.
I mean, you have a personal grate installed in this bar, so yes.
Yeah, this has definitely happened before, so I'm just like, yes, and now Vara will blow dry me. Yeah, this tracks.
Yeah, the patrons don't even look up. It's just the bartender who's keeping an eye on you, like, stay on the grate till you're dry, like occasionally, like giving you that kind of look.
To help like pick off some of the pieces of trash.
Yeah.
You know, I really do admire the artistic statement. It really does show that you are part of the underclass. This decorative piece is certainly a work of art. You've outdone yourself, Cassandra.
You give me too much credit, like all the time.
I've no
Just
idea
in
what's
general.
wrong with that.
As you pick off some of the garbage that has collected on Cassandra's person, Delilah, you notice that there is, like, this is refuse that has floated down from the upper city, which is called Mount Olympus at the top. You notice that there's just kind of bedraggled, like, shredded paperwork. You can't make out any of the words because it's just the strips of paper that have gone through a shredder. And there's like a little bit of some of the metal workings that you recognize to be some of the pipe fittings that your family used to interact with when you lived in the upper city of Mount Olympus. And you can tell that they're different than the ones down here because they have like little diamonds encrusted in the what is that called? Like the gaskets, which down here, there's definitely no diamonds in the stuff that's being used to construct the towers.
Yes, refuse, quite. And she's gonna just like subtly pocket some of the little filings.
Easy enough. You have in your inventory soppy, shredded Mount Olympus papers and a diamond-crusted gasket.
Right. Cassandra, dear, you're quite skilled in the art of elocution and reading and understanding meanings. Can you make anything out on these papers?
I can certainly try. And I don't know if this would help, but I do have a special move called the Sight, which basically I can see invisible I can see the invisible, especially spirits and magical influence. So if there's any of that about this, that's probably what I'd be looking for more than trying to make out specific images or like see. I mean, also trying to see if I can see like any words that stick out. But
Yeah, I would say as you look at this kind of pulpy, sopping mess of paper, it's hard to make out any information. It has drifted down from miles above through water, and so it's pretty much illegible at this point. You don't see anything spiritual or invisible on it either, but as you're kind of reaching your senses out, what does it look like when you do that, by the way, when you kind of tap into the site?
so I think I sort of hold on to the rose quartz pendant that I have and just sort of close my eyes for a second, take a couple deep breaths, and then when I open them, it's almost like her brown eyes start to sort of become a bit more like red, as if like blood is just bleeding out of her pupil into the iris. And it's not it's fairly subtle, so like if you're not super close to her, you wouldn't notice, but Lila and Vara would definitely notice. And then it just sort of is staring at it, but also that thing where like it seems like someone's staring through something.
As you do this, the bartender, you're kind of staring in that direction, and the bartender's like, oh, no, not this again, and just like kind of turns around quickly and like just starts furiously wiping a glass, like, oh man, this girl freaks me out, just kind of muttering under his voice. As you engage the site, it's kind of like a little scan of the room, like you're able to attune to things that are invisible presences that other people miss. In this room, the most salient thing that you notice is the electrical energy around the person with the hammer. You see like tendrils of it moving upwards, like through the roof, like just kind of electric, almost like strings kind of like moving upwards and out of the room. And you also sense a little bit also coming from Vara's pocket, kind of extending out, little like ley lines of energy.
Okay, but the ones from Vara's pocket and that are coming off the man are sort of the same, but just the ones coming off the man are much stronger and they're a lot more plentiful?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, cool.
But that is the only kind of invisible magical presence that you can sense in this space.
Yeah. Well, she sort of blinks out of it, looks over at the bartender, and is just like, oh god, not again. Well, I mean, the only magical things here is that potential co-worker of yours, Vara. But that's just, it feels the same as what your hammer gives off, so I don't think that's anything special.
Oh, he probably is just a higher ranking. It'll be a little nerve-wracking, but I could do some networking.
There was a lot more of it than yours. I'm sorry, but you already knew that.
I am always happy to have a networking opportunity. Thank you so much for your insights. I love it. I'm definitely going to go over and say hi.
At this point, Calliope sees you, Delilah. She had been kind of worrying at what kind of looks like a crossword. It's like scrawled on a sheet of paper, very like worn. And you recognize it as like an etching or like a copy of a copy of a copy of a daily paper that's delivered up in Mount Olympus, and this is just like freely distributed to everyone. It's like kind of bootlegged and reprinted and reproduced, and this is like last week's version of it. And so she's kind of scribbling away at it, like she's got her tongue poking through her lips, and she's really like working at this crossword, like trying to think it through. And as her eyes drift up in thought, she sees you and she's like, oh, hey, Delilah.
Calliope, darling, I'll be right back, ladies. Take care with that electric gentleman. And she's gonna go approach Calliope and interlocute with her. I don't know which one we do first, though.
Yeah, so as we're kind of going into these scenes, what is Cassandra doing as you see Delilah moving to talk to Calliope and you see Vara moving over to talk to the electric hammer person?
I think I'm pretty sure Cassandra just sort of goes and sits at the bar in such a way that she can sort of like just see the rest of the bar, like just sort of watching everyone in it, and probably making kind of awkward small talk with the bartender who like, it's a weird, almost antagonistic but not actually relationship because I've never actually done anything. It's just there's the threat that it will happen at all times.
He's like, I have no reason to ban her, but
Yeah, it's definitely that vibe. So let's zoom into the Calliope conversation first, and then we'll kind of ping pong around to these different scenes. So as Delilah approaches Calliope, you see Calliope kind of like scratching away at this crossword, and it's just super outdated. Like it's from like a week ago, and it's like parts of it are barely legible because it was bootlegged, and so some of the words are cut off. And so not only is she trying to figure out the puzzle, but she's trying to figure out what the prompts are. So she has kind of double work. As she's looking up at you, she's kind of leaning on one hand, and you see kind of like a new tattoo that's like on the top of her hand. It's like fresh ink, kind of still like bleeding in parts. And so she is occasionally like rubbing smudges of blood off the parchment as well. And she looks over at you and she's like, "Hey, have a seat. I didn't think I'd see you here this early."
Pleasure to see you, darling. Yes, quite the early visit. I see that you're hard at work on that bootleg crossword. And she's gonna come over to her and like put her arm around her and like getting close and look at it over her shoulder. I believe that word might be electrocution.
Are you attempting to influence her in some way?
I'm attempting to flirt with her.
Do you have an end goal in mind with your movements?
No.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure. Have you done this before also?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So she doesn't seem to react to it. It's almost like a familiar coat, you know, like you kind of like just like shrug something on and you're like, oh, this is nice. Like she almost just kind of like does a little like, oh, this is a nice feeling, but doesn't react too much to the movement. However, she does react to your clue. And she's like, no spoilers. And she like hits her hand down on the table and then says, ow, as she kind of touches the fresh tattoo. And she looks up at me and she's like, what do you mean bootleg? This is the only version I get.
Oh, my apologies, darling. It's not at all relevant. You know my deleterious past. Absolutely unfortunate. Don't wish to discuss much in detail, but you're aware of my upbringing. However, tell me about this new tattoo. Enough about me. What is going on with you? What do we have here?
She pats your hand. Is your hand on her shoulder? Like kind of around her shoulder? She like reaches up with the opposite hand and like pats your hand and like also like shows it off. And she's like, yeah, it's kind of an homage, I guess, to the working class down here in Poseidon's Deep. You know, it's got a little bit of a gear. It's got a little bit of plumbing pipes. And these are like the electric things that make the pipes run.
Fascinating. Oh my lovely. I may have to swing by your station and get one myself. But you know how I love going under your needle.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little worried about all of the vengeful words that you want me to write occasionally, like death to the inventor, and like it's getting a little racy.
What can I say? I'm quite the violent broad. I really am. Just a danger to myself and others, and in many ways.
She grins like halfway, like half smile, and she's like, "That's what I like about you, though."
Oh, Calliope, you and I truly are kindred spirits. But I actually have something to ask you relating to this specific thing, which is I have word that there are disappearances happening in the upper levels, in the upper layers. However, of course, the people at the top are dismissing them as pish-posh poppycock. I was wondering if you'd heard anything. Odie told me that you were his original source.
She nods, and then she kind of like looks around a little bit and like lowers her voice, and she's like, when I talked to Odie, it was kind of fresh in my mind. I've since been told to not maybe talk about it so much.
By whom, dear?
I hate to do this to our relationship, but I'd rather not say. I'm a little freaked out right now. That's why I'm here this morning. It's been a rough morning.
Can I do the equivalent of insight checking her to see if the person she's afraid of is here?
I mean, what would you do to do that?
Kind of like see if as she mentions, like, I don't want to say who that is, like, does she make eye contact with this weird sparky boy, or...
Okay. Yeah, I would say maybe read... No, none of these fit. None of these moves fit.
I know, right?
Yeah, I would say because of your kind of connection with this NPC, you would be able to read this person pretty easily. She does kind of glance over at the Sparky Hammer guy, just like very briefly.
I see. Dear, I don't know what your plans were for the day, but perhaps it would be best for you to stay safe, stay here. Or at least in a location where you're surrounded by friends and not enemies. I would invite you along on our journey, but I fear that we are going to go to places that may not be the most welcoming.
She lowers her voice again. The places that aren't most welcoming are definitely not the electric lab down here that carries the electricity up to the top side, to Mount Olympus. That's definitely not where someone shook me down this morning and told me to stop talking about it.
I should say not, certainly. Of course, that completely understood, darling.
She winks quickly and then like looks around to see if anyone saw her wink. She's very nervous.
Let me get you another drink, dear, and I'll leave you to your wordplay.
She nods, looks over at the hammer guy, and just says, "There's people from topside here. Just be careful, all right? I mean, no offense. Being a topsider yourself."
None taken. I've left that behind long ago. Can't you tell by my rough and cunning mannerisms, my streetwise attire?
She pokes you in the stomach. You're just a softie.
I was stopping you.
Are you wearing like hardcore like armor? Like you have armor on, right?
She does have armor on. She's got armor on. Like there's like knee pad type situations like built into her.
Like pants. A little bit of Mad Max.
Yeah, a little bit of Mad Max, a little bit roller derby.
Cool.
Shit.
Yeah, she goes to poke your stomach thinking that you're gonna like flinch and she'll have a bit of upper hand with her clout from being down here. And hits the armor and her finger bends back and she's like, ah, shit. She does one of those.
Okay, darling. Bartender, could I get one more over here? Whatever she's drinking, get her another one. And Delilah is going to pat Calliope kind of like meaningfully on the back and go join Cassandra at the bar.
As you say, bartender, we look over to Cassandra and the bartender's interaction. So we'll go kind of back a little bit. Kind of as this conversation is happening, Cassandra, you're at the bar with the bartender. And the bartender looks over at you and tries to just like look at you, but also avoid eye contact as much as possible. And is just cleaning this glass.
I definitely am like looking like just like sort of like at his like neck, like being trying to be respectful. Like, yes, I know you don't like looking me in the eye. I get it.
Bartender's
like above his head or like to one side of his head and very deliberately helping him not make eye contact.
Bartender is doing the same, but kind of like looking at your shoulder or like your forehead point. Yeah, it's just a moment of like comedy of errors. As the bartender's like, well, you're back, so this is happening.
It'll probably keep happening. I don't know if you've noticed, but this is, despite my inability to get in here consistently without making a fool of myself. This is one of the only places that I don't feel like I want to smash my head against a wall.
You know, that's actually a really nice compliment. Maybe, we're trying to, do a little bit of PR. If you wouldn't mind, writing that down on the internet and tagging us. We only have 2 followers, so I think it would really help business grow.
So I avoid bringing my phone when I come down here because I know it's going to get waterlogged and stop working.
He gestures behind him.
So I will do that when I get back up.
He gestures behind him to a big bucket full of broken phones. They're just wet, soppy, blown out technology, and it's just a big garbage can full of them, basically, right behind the bar. That's why we only have 2 followers.
Yeah, they haven't learned that you need to plan ahead.
Speaking of planning ahead, I wanted to thank you for letting me know that last week one of the gaskets was gonna kind of cut loose on this place and kind of swing my entire shelf stock around. I thought you were a little bit crazy, but I embraced everything, and sure enough, we swung loose and I didn't lose anything.
I get that a lot. You're welcome.
You scare me, though.
I get that a lot too. This is going to be pretty crazy. I don't suppose you've heard anything about a series of disappearances, people who have jobs just going missing, and then people refusing to talk about it for some reason.
He lowers his voice as well and kind of looks over at the electric hammer person that is engaging with Vara and says, well, there's Mount Olympus folks here telling us not to ask questions about that very same thing. Funny you should ask.
Well,
Seems second nature to him up there.
God, it really is. And if there was ever a better clue that something is going on, well, there isn't one. That's a very good clue that there's something going on. They also haven't learned that fact either.
I mean, all that topside stuff's a little bit too fancy for me. I'm a straightforward man. And what I can tell you is that a lot of people that come in here drinking regularly haven't been in a couple days.
Well, you know your regular patrons as well as anyone. Do they have anything in common?
Well, a lot of them were electricians and plumbers working down here in the Poseidon part of the trades guilds. And they're a competitive bunch, so I guess all of them were a little bit of sons of bitches, always trying to jockey for position, show who's the best at what they do. Everyone's just trying to hope for a chance of attracting the attention of a patron up there so they can rise to the top up through those beautiful pipes. And he looks up at the ceiling where there's a circular element, like a metal ring that presumably connects to one of the pipes that goes up and out towards the Mount Olympus up above.
Hey, it's quite a rise, but no one ever talks about the fall. It's kind of inevitable, really.
He looks up and then looks down at the floor, the dirty, alcohol-stained, metallic, scuffed floor, and he's like, well, if it's a choice between falling and staying at the bottom, I don't know. I might like to see a little bit of sunshine.
That's nice.
Have you experienced topside?
Not in quite a while. Let's just say that people really don't like it when you expose their cover-ups.
He smiles and he pours you a shot of what appears to be a very thick, viscous liquid, not something that looks like it should go in a drink by itself or be drunk at all. And it just kind of sloshes around in the glass, very gelatinous, and he hands it over to you and he's like, cheers to that. And at that moment you walk up, Delilah, yelling, bartender.
Not one of those, though. A different thing. Perhaps whatever she already has. What is that, dear?
I have no idea.
That's
I give it a sniff. Does it smell like alcohol?
Does it smell
like, or does it? Is it like when I give it a sniff? Is it like burning my nose?
As you smell it, it kind of smells like some of the sludgy water that's floating around this little bar pod called Poseidon's dumpster. Maybe it's been passed through a few purification filters, but not too many.
Of course, not to turn my nose up at anything. I am, after all, a woman of the people, and commune, drink their drinks.
I push the shot in front of Delilah.
Right, of course. Yes, I will share this beverage with you. Not to be concerned of any bacterium.
Do you drink it?
Yeah, she's gonna...
You see Calliope in the corner watching you, like after she had poked you and said, "You're just a softie." And so she's just kind of watching you, like waiting to see what you'll do.
Yeah, gonna take this shot.
As you drink it, it tastes kind of like fish and garbage water.
That's really gross, okay?
This is why they only have 2 followers. This again.
Tastes like home. Lovely. I love being down here. Wonderful. Yes.
The bartender kind of flexes. He's got very stereotypically like big shoulders, big muscles. He's got like a tiny little apron that like barely fits over his like big barrel chest. And he does like a little flex and he's like, "Poseidon's dumpster's finest."
It truly is. It really is.
As you... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, barkeep, I just wanted to... If I could ask that you keep an eye on my dear, darling companion, occasional friend, Calliope. Seems she's in a bit of a scrape at the moment. Just making sure that no one attempts to remove her from the location. It would be much appreciated.
Roll to manipulate someone. I also use this as a persuasion. Since you don't have a strong relationship with this NPC, I'll say that that's kind of triggering this move.
Yeah, okay, I don't. I'm going to use my special move, Fervor, where when I manipulate someone, I can roll tough instead of charm. So she's gonna, like, with her eyes that are very intense and this, like, very severe demeanor, she's gonna do that instead. So let me roll those 2d6 in the channel because we have a robot now, and it's 10 plus her thing, and her stats are +2 to tough. So
can you please sing all of your rolls? I would love that.
Maybe I will. But
all of the form of a jingle.
Yeah, what's your roll?
12.
Have you ever not succeeded on a roll in a game of mine?
I am severely blessed in terms of monster hunter rolls and nowhere else in my life.
So on a 10 plus, they'll do it for the reason you gave them. So what's the collateral? How are you convincing this bartender to do what you ask?
Yeah, kind of lean over and go, "You can add to my tab if you'd like. Just a little something for yourself."
Do you pay up front now?
No. And she's also going to just, like, shift her jacket to the side to, like, show her big-ass knife that she's got.
Wait a minute. Are you trying to bribe the bartender or threaten the bartender's life?
We're threatening tough. He's trying to use tough to manipulate someone, so I assume it's like intimidation style.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a person who wants to intimidate people normally, but in this case I think it works.
Role-playing games. Yes. Yeah, okay. So you're like, "Add it to my tab," and so the bartender's eyebrows shoot up thinking like, "Oh, you're gonna bribe me with money. This is great." And then you reveal the knife and he's like, "Oh, this is not as great." He's like, "Listen, I don't want any trouble here. We've got 2 reviews. One of them's lukewarm. The other one said, I came here by accident. So I feel like if we tip into violence, it's just gonna tank the whole endeavor. No knife fighting.
A positive review, you know, depending on your success. You know I am a loyal customer.
Yeah, no knife fighting though with the loyal customers. I don't want loyal knife fighting here. So I'll take care of your girl. Don't worry about it.
Oh, she's not... All right. Yes. Thank you. Quite.
She's sorry. I just well, I'm just a humble bartender. Don't mean to start rumors.
Isn't that your entire job, dear? To shepherd and collect rumors?
He just continues wiping the inside of the glass, and he's like nodding, but also like shaking his head. He's like, "Yep, no,
Nodding and shaking his head? Okay.
nope,
Like a diagonal.
nope, not me, never."
Right.
As this conversation is happening, Vara, you keep noticing people gesturing over at the person that you're talking to. Multiple NPCs and characters in this bar have now gestured over to the lightning hammer person. As you approach, this person has kind of like a little bit of like a, I don't know, like a static around them. Like as you get closer, the ends of your hair start to like just drift up a little bit. It feels like you scooted your feet along a carpet and you just have that little bit of like static energy as you approach.
Charge.
The person has a very familiar hammer at their hip. It's garnering electric power. You know that pretty much your employer, although you are a legitimate company in the structure here of the above and the below, in particular, the electric company has a reputation of being a little cultish. The leader of this particular corporation in this whole guild's tradesman setup is a bit of a cult figure, like a very charismatic leader, and was actually the person that recruited you into the organization when you started so long ago. You also know that the hook is that being part of the electric company, being part of this charismatic leader's thrall, is that you get powers, electric powers through your hammer. This person that's sitting there has like a very strong electric aura around them. They are very much pointedly trying to ignore all of the conversation around them, like to the point of like they're clearly like not even reacting to things in a normal way. Like usually when people like raise their voices, people will look. This person is just like nursing their beer, not looking around as you approach.
So I have the what I need when I need it, and I'm gonna call it Win-Winnie because I don't want to say the whole thing every single time. So I'm gonna like Win-Winnie like my business card, and like while I reach out to like shake his hand, Vara, contracts commission, nice to meet you. And I'm just gonna like do this. I don't know how he's gonna respond.
The person like looks up, immediately like reaches out his hand. He's got kind of like a moppish type hair, very like poofy, like a little fuzzed out from all of the static electricity that he's generating. Immediately, like just kind of second nature almost, says, "Oh, name is Sharp," and goes to like shake your hand, and then sees it's you, and like kind of does one of those like, Vara, you say, and puts the hand back down.
I'm just gonna be like, yes, absolutely. I'm gonna like put the not face at all business card on the counter, like slip it forward. Sharp, was it? What area of the company are you working for? Did you just put in a transfer here? I'm just a new transfer down to the deep division.
His hand, which had been set out to shake yours, also in the other hand that was like clutching the beer, had a business card like in between two fingers, like ready to slide out to you as well. And he kind of does one of those like card trick flips of the business card back into his sleeve, and then goes back to holding the beer as he like withdraws his hand from the shake and like just looks down at your business card with like a little bit of disdain on the table. Yeah, I know that you're a transfer here. I'm not a transfer. I'm here on business. I don't work in Poseidon's deep.
Well, I'd love to hear more. I mean, I'd love to network with a fellow member of the Electrics Commission. And just love to hear about the other departments. So, what brings you here? What business are you here on?
Why don't you roll to investigate a mystery? Because this is not a
Okay.
willing NPC at all.
Okay. I feel very bad that I'm subjecting you to like my corporate persona because this is literally what I sound like at work.
Hilarious hearing your customer service voice, and I'm like, it's so accurate.
Yeah, no, I definitely pitch up into like my customer service voice, and it's completely different from my actual voice.
Do you have
Okay,
your coworkers watching? Are they like, wait a minute, who is this other voice?
I did share it with some of my former coworkers that are very familiar with my customer service voice. Let's see. 6, 7 for investigate. Yeah, sharp is 0, so 2d6. Yeah, 7. I got a 7.
A 7. So on a 7, you get to hold one of those questions. So what happened here? I would say you haven't really honed in on a creature yet. So I would say what happened here, where did it go, what is it going to do, and what's being concealed here are fair game.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to go with what is being concealed here.
So as you're talking to Sharp, you realize that Sharp has a thick file set, like kind of like a little portfolio with like a bunch of folders that are like clearly labeled, and like it's a filing system actually that you had a hand in inventing back in the day. So you're like very happy to see that it's still in use. But that like popping out of these labels are papers with the names of workers in the electric sector down here. And that what is being concealed here is perhaps this person is on business and is doing something related to the workers here.
I'm just gonna sidle. I have 0 awareness, or maybe it's more that I'm aware that he's a standoffish, but that's just not part of my job to say no, being part of the company. So I'm just gonna sidle up to him and be like, I actually got to work on that file system, and I absolutely enjoyed my time there. So I see a purple and I see a gold. So we're looking into current employees and new applications. Am I right? Did I get it?
Do you specifically call that out, that like
Yes.
what he's holding?
Mm-hmm.
He immediately bristles and he's like, I don't know what you think you're up to. I get that you're still work for the great leader, but that's a name only. It's a pity that it's out of pity that you're here. The great leader has need of every one of his followers, of his chosen ones. But I wouldn't say you're exactly chosen anymore. And I don't choose to share information with people who have been sent down here on business.
Now I'm gonna get passive aggressive because I'm petty. I have a power called Soothe that when I talk to someone for a few seconds in a quiet voice, I can calm them down, blocking any panic, anger, and negative emotions they have.
Nice.
So I'm just going to like come up to him and be like, hey, I know that our job is really tough. Sometimes we just come here to decompress, and I totally get that. I'm just here to listen as a fellow coworker, a fellow electric person in arms. So, you can spill. Everyone needs to vent.
So what emotion are you calming on him? His negative emotions?
Yeah, I'm gonna calm his negative emotions, or maybe like the disdain he has towards me, or whatever sort of holier than thou complex he's putting out right now.
A fellow divine being holier than thou, who knew? As you soothe Sharp, you kind of see like all of like the tension lines near his eyes and like the tension around like his mouth, everything just like relaxes, and you see him almost as like aging in reverse, like just kind of like he looks 10 years younger as like all of this like tension releases from his muscles, and he just sits back and he's like, it is nice to relax down here. There's not as much pressure as on Mount Olympus.
That's even funnier because we're deep under the sea. We should be experiencing more pressure, but
you see like a twitch, like the eye muscle kind of like tenses again as like your soothe power is tested. And then he eventually relaxes again. Yeah, that's a good joke.
Well, I I know that you have this completely handled. They wouldn't have sent you otherwise. But I mean, I've been here for a little bit. I can probably chime in. There's a lot of people I've gotten to know down here, and maybe I can relate a little bit.
Roll to manipulate someone, as now he, because
Okay.
of your soothability, is open to being persuaded in this way.
Yay! Hold on, let me roll real quick.
And also, what would you offer to get what you want?
To get whatever information that he's putting down.
Yeah.
I would. So as my little grunt contract person that I am, I probably did a lot of data analytics on the different employees, where they are, who they are, what they do, where they're stationed, and I could sort of quid pro quo some of that information.
Okay.
I got a 9.
Nice. Well, you'll need that then, because on a 7 to 9, they will do it, but only if you do something for them right now to show that you mean it.
Mm-hmm.
So, you were asking to be let in on this mission, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And what kind of information would you be willing to give up? Because you'll need to give it up now in order for this person to trust you.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to pull out the lists of people that have been terminated, in a sense that they haven't shown for work. They're no-shows, and so I have that list, and I'm like, there was an alert in the system that these people were all no-shows. Normally that goes up to corporate as, like, part of the monthly metrics. So I don't know if you want to take a look at those KPIs before they go up the ladder.
Sharp is okay. So what he's like still soothed, although you like can see his body like trying to fight it. Like, this is very annoying to me. But he does seem interested that you give this list of people. He's actually interested that you still have access to it. And so he's not so much interested in the information as you can gather from like just like the electric power generated from his hammer, that he kind of outranks you. But he's like, interesting. Well, thanks for letting me know about this. I'm going to make sure that your access is cut off, because you're not supposed to have a list of all of the people who haven't been active lately being down here in Poseidon's Deep. So I appreciate that. And as a show of my appreciation, I'm going to let you in on places that you should avoid going, because I will be there. How about that? So I'm going to go to the electric company's outpost here, and I'm also going to swing by the Plumbers Guild outpost, and I'm spending the rest of the day there, important business, and I don't want to see you there because you're not supposed to be there. So stay away from there. How about that?
Well, I do think there's some things in my cubicle at the outpost, but I suppose I could just get them later.
You see
But
the eye
thank
twitch
you for
again.
letting me know. Well, thank you for the information. I'm sure you have a lot to get up to,
I
but
do. I have some colleagues coming down as well. So, if you could just stay out of all of our way, that'd be great.
And you don't happen to know any of my colleagues either. They're really fantastic people.
You're in exile.
Okay. That's fine.
He, as he says, like, you're in exile, he pauses and he's like, actually, I guess I do know a colleague of yours.
Oh, who? Is it Shannon? Is it Shannon? She's really friendly.
No, it's Perrin. Perrin talks about you a lot.
Well, we were desk mates, so that makes sense.
Asks a lot of questions. Maybe too many questions. Now that I've met you down here, it reminds me about how annoying Perrin is. Maybe I'll have to have a talk with them when I get back up topside.
I ask far more questions. He asked just the right amount of questions. I ask far more questions. So, no, he's good. He's good.
Yeah.
Better than I am.
Yeah.
No worries.
I'm not worried. And he just kind of like finishes his drink. You see like the bottom of the glass as he puts the glass down. You hear like the crackling of electricity from the hammer. And he's like, well, I have work to do. Hope to see you never, exile.
Have a wonderful day.
He gets up and just kind of like walks away. The chair is still pushed out. No money on the table. The bartender just kind of watches him go with his eyes, slumps his shoulders and looks at the two of you, Delilah and Cassandra, and says, that's not a review. That's not a review.
I would review him as quite a poor customer myself, but I don't think that they have that sort of setup down here. Perhaps we can do you a favor. No promises.
Oh, yeah?
I think his name may be written on my shit list, but that has not yet been confirmed. Wouldn't you say, Cassandra dear? Are we feeling a little bloodlusty today?
You're muted.
Thank you. Why, don't ask me to. I don't. Why do we always have to? Fine. And I would like to try and jinx him.
Go for it.
Yeah.
Do it.
Yeah, so I have to roll weird.
Mm-hmm.
Oh god, please be good. God, what is with these?
Not hot dice?
No, not hot dice. You know what?
Hot roll dice.
Have a hot roll dice.
You can use luck.
Yeah,
I
I'm
guess.
gonna spend a luck to make that a 12.
Okay.
Yeah.
So go ahead and mark off one
Let
of your
the
3 luck
pettiness
points.
flow through you.
That is indeed what I'm doing. Yeah.
So you get hold 2 from your jinx
Mhm.
list.
Yes. So one of the things that I can do is interfere with what a monster minion or bystander is trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I would like to use one of my to interfere with this man's plans to get to the electric offices where we were told that we should check for clues. I think maybe he messes up his diving suit and is far less equipped to deal with smelling like garbage.
Awesome.
And so he's just inexplicably delayed.
What happens when electric people get wet? Because we
Oh,
are in a
shit.
very not great environment for
Ooh,
being
that's a good
electric
point.
people.
Good
So,
question.
We're being so
Right.
wet.
And then also the target loses something that I will soon find.
Mm.
Can it be that fancy filing folder?
It can indeed. So, what does it look like as you use your jinx?
So I think she's sort of sad and is like, God, please don't make me do this. And then she looks everyone looking at her expectantly and is just like, oh God. Sort of grabs the quartz again, closes her eyes, takes a couple deep breaths, and then
As
opens
soon as you
her
touch the
eyes.
quartz, the bartender's like, no, 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 and he just turns around.
Fuck.
And sort of does it again, and like her eyes do the same thing, sort of like slowly turning red, but they sort of glow a bit, and then sort of you can't really see it, but on like as the guy's leaving, on sort of the back of his head, 2 sort of like glowing red eyes faintly appear,
Cool.
and then sort of fade.
Very cool. As the eyes fade away, Calliope makes eye contact with you, Delilah, like points at Cassandra, points at the guy, and just does a like,
Delilah just like, don't worry, like.
you see Calliope is like your cool factor has just gone up in her eyes a little bit. She's just like, nice. Cassandra, as your jinx takes hold, a few things happen. The Sharp is like putting on the diving suit. He is just like, he's on a bit of a power trip as he had walked away from Vara with like such definite manner that he is just like not really paying attention to what he's doing. And so he accidentally puts on like part of your suit, which is like soaking wet and like not affixed correctly. And so like he's just mismatching pieces of his own suit and your previously bungled suit. And is just doing so with like a lot of like coolness and like, whatever, I'm getting out of here, I'm so great. The file folder slips out of the back of his like bag, and you see it kind of do one of those like through the floorboards. It's stuck wedged in there, so he can't see it. It's not like it's just laying on the ground, but you saw it fall out, and so you kind of see like the papers sticking up through the floor. So it's not noticeable that it is missing to him. He puts on the suit, and like he just like shakes his head a little bit as he feels like the eye is like kind of fading away on the back of his head, though obviously doesn't know what that means, but it's just that feeling of like when you feel like you're being watched and you look around and like no one's there. It's that kind of like hair standing on the back of your neck feeling. And he just like gives a little shudder and then does a bloop and like dives into the little porthole that you guys came through. About 5 minutes go by and you hear as the ill-fitting suit has exposed him to water. The electricity begins to like crackle, and you see electric lines just shooting up out of the porthole like a cauldron over bubbling, and you see like electricity and steam, and the water begins to bubble. He exited. Don't know what happened to him.
He didn't pay attention in class.
And then I will, as I see that happening, I'll go over to and sort of fish out the file folder.
As you have the file folder in your possession, you open it up and you can see the names of multiple workers from the plumbing trades guild down here and also the electric trades guild down here. They're people who are rising in the ranks. So as you know, in the above and below system here, people who are skilled craftsmen, skilled tradesmen, are often patroned by someone from up above in Mount Olympus to be brought up in society and to essentially use their skills in the upper level to the point where they become obsolete. So at first they're the best of the best, and then as they grow in their reputation and as they get more clients, they themselves become patrons up there, and they no longer really work in these industries anymore. They become the people that bring others up. And so there's kind of a big like jockeying for position about who gets to go up. And all of these folks were ones who were like high ranking, you know, like on the cusp of being patroned, like they have been working really hard. And you see on each of their folders little red X's kind of like covering their faces, like hand drawn in. And there's like a list of like 10 or so people from both of these industries.
Are there any people whose like names or who are listed in the file without the red X across like over their faces?
Yes, actually. So there is one person named Ithaca. And that person has today's date written above their head.
Does it say where they work? And is it at either the electric office or the plumbing outpost?
Yes, they do work at the electric office in the Poseidon side. So they haven't yet been able to go topside.
Okay. All right. I shall share this. Sort of be flipping through it as I'm walking back over to the bar.
The bartender still has his back turned to you, and he's like, "Is she done?"
Yes,
He peeks.
Well,
are you sure you're done?
I'm done, I promise.
It's not like the time that you said you were done and then you did something creepy again, because I don't like to see it. It weirds me out.
You know what? I can't guarantee that it won't get creepy again, but I'm not planning on it.
He sighs deeply and then takes a shot of that sludge himself. All right.
That's the best I can do. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you've done quite an
also,
excellent job, really.
We need to find this man, Ithaca. Whatever's going on, I'm pretty sure he's next.
Can I like win Winnie my laptop? Just like
Is that your ability to pull things out of your pocket?
Yeah, it's called What I Need When I Need It, so I'm just saying Win-Winnie because I'm sure my character would love acronyms, and it's easier than saying the whole name.
That's awesome. Yes. Yep. You pull your laptop out of your pocket. You guys see Vara pull out a full-blown, like, full-size laptop from, like, a very small breast pocket.
I'm just going to like look through and see if I can pull up their employment record. My assumption is because of the various sounds coming from the tube, I haven't gotten my access revoked in any way yet.
That is correct. You can also safely assume that if there was no nefarious jinxing happening, that would be the first thing that guy would have done when he exited the bar.
100%.
But yeah, you still have your access.
So I'm gonna pull that up, and I'm gonna pull up Ithaca's file.
As you pull up Ithaca's file, what are some things that you're looking for?
I'm looking
Actually,
for
roll investigative mystery. Let's hone this in
Okay.
first, and then we can dive in through those questions.
Let me see. Do I have sharp? I have 0 sharp. It's fine.
Okay. I have -1 cool, so I can't even help out.
9. I'm happy with this.
Nice. So you get to hold 1. So
Okay.
which category are you interested in? And then like we can massage it from there.
I'm gonna go with what was it going to do? Because I'm assuming everyone has to do something or is in the process of doing something great in order to try to go up.
Mm-hmm.
So did you file a patent? Have you invented something? Have you fixed something with extreme efficiency? What is the deal there?
Yeah. So you look up Ithaca, and also because you have access to these other folks too, you can easily ask the same question of all of them. And you begin to see the pattern that each and every one of these workers, in addition to being just good at what they do and like trying to vie for that patron's attention, they all have in common that they were very innovative in their field and that they discovered how to do things either quickly or more efficiently or faster or like create more like money out of whatever it is that they're doing. And so they're like not only just top of their class, but they're like creating a way to like make more product faster for the companies. You also see that on a few of their files, and this means not much to you, so it's up to you if you want to share it, but you do see a few footnotes of like, the inventor would be interested in this. Send this to the inventor.
I probably would mention it just because I'm sure that it's one of the various words that Delilah would want tattooed on her body, like the inventor must pay, something of I've seen the drafts of the tattoo designs. So I just
Calliope has probably shown them to you as like the voice of reason, just to be like, listen, this is what she wants, but like I'm a little concerned.
we'll just do an eye to make it symbolic and not so nondescript. Like I'm gonna turn like the laptop and show it to Delilah and like, so I figured you'd want to read this, but also keep in mind that I'm still paying off this laptop and you should treat it kindly.
Yes, right. It's very important equipment. Now let's see here. Oh, I see. But so the people who disappeared, who have been disappearing, I presume that they were right about to be patroned, no? So how do we know that they haven't merely been elevated to that despicable upper-class status?
Probably would be coded differently. They wouldn't be coded as terminated. They would probably be coded as upgraded.
Ah, certainly. No, that makes sense. Quite. Well, then I wonder what this inventor fellow, this bastard has that he wants with them. No doubt treating them quite horribly.
Well, is there any benefit to, if they're all about to invent or patent something, would it be beneficial for the inventor to just have those patents herself?
Quite astute, Cassandra. Yes, no, that's quite a good lead. We must find this Ithaca person and ensure their safety. Perhaps we could even watch what happens to them. Or intervene if they are going to be murdered.
So whatever was going to happen to them might not happen to them anymore. There was
Depends,
a
maybe.
lot of lightning coming out of that tube.
Can I see like incident reports? I'm assuming this guy would have some kind of way to call for help. Like there's like a homing button on his hammer or something. Like I don't know. I've fallen and I can't get
Or
up.
button on his hammer. I've fallen and I can't get up.
It's
Like-
instead of life alert, it's Thor alert.
Thor alert.
Yes, on the Zeus internal network, which you probably have had your access revoked to a lot of it. Do you think that Vara would have taken the time to try to like break back in to parts that she doesn't have access to? I mean, like, and not that this guy did it, but just from before with your exile, you probably would have had just basic things deactivated.
I think she has a bit of forethought, generally speaking. She might have felt like, hey, I poked like a bunch of holes into this and people got sketchy really fast. Maybe there's like a small like admin access that her like a friend in the office, she's like, hey, can you set this up for me? Something.
Do you think Perrin
like,
would have done it?
maybe Perrin would have helped. Maybe Perrin's like IT related and was doing it to help her out. Maybe that's why he's asking a lot of questions about what happened, because
Great.
that was like the last thing he did for her.
Great. So yeah, so Perrin created kind of this backdoor entry because he was concerned like why you were exiled, and like he looked up to you as like one of the best employees that he knows. He's also kind of a I love the company kind of person, and I love regulations. And so he's like, no one loves the company and regulations more than Vara. This doesn't make sense with my worldview. So yes, he wanted you to continue having access because in his mind, the most rule following person not having access to the rules, like that just like broke his entire brain. So you do have access to some of the channels still. And you do see with the Zeus Electric Company Thor alert button, there is an employee who is out on a job site that has been reported as injured and unable to report for work. The 4 colleagues that were en route to come to assist this person will now be taking over the mission.
Does it say who they are or no?
Like their identities?
Yeah.
Not in the Thor alert stream thread. It's just kind of like little like this happened, this happened, this happened. But you could try to look up their profiles if you'd like.
I feel like, oh gosh, this sounds like my job. Okay, so I feel like I'd very much go and be like, okay, who has recently just been like activated for a guest pass to the outpost like within the past like couple of hours, and maybe that might tell me who's coming.
Okay. Because you're going beyond just the general channel that Perrin gave you access to, I'd like you to roll Act Under Pressure to see how well you can navigate the system without alerting people.
Okay. See, it's plus cool. Four, fantastic. I'm gonna use a luck.
Okay. So you're changing
I
it
do
to a
really
12
wanna know.
plus. So on a 12 plus, you can choose to either do what you wanted and something extra, or do what you wanted to absolute perfection.
So I'm gonna say I wanted to do what I wanted and see who is coming, and to absolute perfection, or sorry, something extra. How, I'm trying to think. Can I reassign myself as their guide for the day? Like, because they've never been there before, they need someone to like guide them, and I'll just reassign myself from another like electric company employee.
Sure. You'd have to give yourself an alias because it's well known that you are under exile here. So what alias would you like to give yourself?
Bridget.
Bridget?
I don't know. My name is Bridget.
Okay. Bridget, who is the guide and point of contact, because the original one is in the hospital. Like he's Thor hammered.
I'll just like
Sent the
Clark
alert.
Kent it, like take off my glasses and like put my hair in a bun.
Awesome. Yeah, so you find out their profiles. Their names are Crete, Athens, and Acropolis.
Propolis?
Yep, those are their names. They're totally legitimate names.
Fantastic.
Oh, and I guess there's 4 of them. And Vanilla. I know. Don't give me that look.
You will have to type them for me because I am inept. I cannot figure out how those are spelled.
Crete, Athens, Acropolis, not Acropolis, just Acropolis and Vanilla.
Those are the names of the 4 people that soon you will meet. They are real people in this world.
Oh, Allison, remember when you named all your NPCs with an IE at the end, like Billy?
Jim,
Yes.
right. There were a lot of them.
Look,
Really branching out here,
This-
Amy.
this is like worlds away from Billy. There were like 3 Billies in the first campaign. So look at that.
Oh man.
Oh God. Yes, these are the 4 people that are coming to assist Sharp. Sharp is out of commission, and they have now received word that Bridget will be their guide.
Oh, that's gonna be so fun for them.
All right, you technologically adept little Sparky do-gooder, what have you got for me? What have you done?
So, for the big head honcho-y type of people, they're more head honcho-y than I am. Crete, Athens, Acropolis, and Vanilla, like vanilla but with a B.
Yeah, totally.
Vanilla, okay.
Like, as in bat?
Vanilla.
As in the flavor?
You know what?
Vanilla.
You know what her name is now? It's Spinelli. How about that?
Spinelli,
Spinelli,
okay.
There we go.
I'll change that. Spinelli. I liked vanilla. I'll change it to Spinelli. Spinelli. All right. Notes. Editing.
Oh my God, I'm crying.
Just like corporate person, manager, vanilla. Like just that's very in line. Oh my
Very
goodness.
apropos.
God.
My name is Beige. Oh.
Oh my God.
All right. So you've hacked into the system and determined you've made it so you're going to assist them in their mission.
Yes. So I'm going to have to change this to something that says Bridget, and you're gonna have to keep calling me that so I don't mess up.
Well, Vara, I suppose Bridget.
Yes.
Bridget, that sounds a little bit counterintuitive to our aims. How do you is the plan that you will distract them, lead them astray, while we locate this Ithaca individual?
Well, nothing is better than corporate incompetence, and it's really easy to get lost. And it's really easy for them not to really care about me or anything that I do because I'm the little grunt worker and they're just filtering in what I say. So, the plan is find out what they're doing. They'll probably talk as if I'm not there, so I'll probably learn a lot. And if they're there to do something unsavory, distract them from doing so. There's plenty of things that will go wrong in a electric factory environment. Lots of regulations, lots of lack of fall protection, not a lot of scaffolding. There's just so much that could happen.
As
Look
you
at
say,
you crafty little pencil pusher. I'm quite impressed.
as you have this conversation, Calliope comes up and she slams the finished crossword on the bar and she's like, "Done. All right. What did I miss?"
Quite impressive. The good news here is that I believe our dear Cassandra has disposed of the individual who was menacing you earlier.
I saw that.
Please don't call it disposed of.
She's quite vicious, really, very bloodthirsty. Quite a
Dispatched.
few heads to her name, kill count wise. Her body count is unspeakably high. She's a terror on the street.
That's badass. Cassandra, do you want a tattoo? I feel like that's like worthy of it.
Maybe later.
I mean, I got my set right here. I can do tattoos anywhere, anytime.
It's a quick little, like a lightning bolt or something, just like right here on your neck or perhaps on your face, just a little like killer right here. You're
It's
going to
killer,
get that
but
one,
like
but
the
then
L's are
you might
lightning
talk me out
bolts.
of it.
What? Rain check.
All right.
Right.
But
business plan,
I'll give you a
yeah.
discount for being so awesome and for helping me out. Now that that guy's gone, I can tell you guys. I initially told Odie everything I saw, and I had no problem telling you, of course, Delilah. But that electric guy, he was gonna shake me down. He knew everything about me. He knew where I lived. He knew I had a tattoo shop, and he said, "Quit talking about things that didn't happen." And everyone else I've talked to, they think nothing happened. But I saw there was like a big burst of electricity coming out of the electric place, and a big burst of electricity coming out of the plumbing place a couple days ago now in a row in the mornings. And then I talk to people and say, "What the hell happened?" And they're like, "What are you talking about?" And I say, "Well, the thing." And they're like, "There is no thing." Like, I really feel gaslit whenever I bring it up.
Aw.
How do you
There is
think
most
they're
definitely a
gaslighting
thing.
you?
What's that?
That would be, you're feeling gaslit because that's what they're doing to you.
Yeah, it's not fair. I mean, like, we're all in the shit together down here in Poseidon's dumpster, right? And the bartender's like, "That we are!" And he takes another shot of the sludge. So, why are people being that way? That's why I went to Odie, because Odie's always getting fired up about stuff like that. But then that electric guy freaked me out.
Why were you going to keep quiet? Fear.
Why was I?
I assume it was fear. I
Yeah.
assume that's also why most people aren't talking.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, like, I'm not generally afraid of things. And she, like, looks at Delilah pointedly, like, "I'm cool." Like, kind of like I'm not a, you know.
I saw what you did to your finger that one time. It was quite impressive.
Oh, the tattoo, or?
No, the piercing straight through it. It was quite terrifying.
Oh, yeah, I call that the cartilage. Apparently there's not a lot of cartilage in the finger, though, so it did hurt a lot.
I learned something that day, yes.
But yeah, I think that, you know, everyone's got a threshold, and him knowing things about me that I didn't tell him, it freaked me out.
Understandable.
Well, freak no longer, my darling Calliope, because we are going to dispatch of this threat most urgently. However, I do think that it is best just for the moment, that you avoid your common haunts. Perhaps even here may not be a safe location for you, considering it is the locus of the disappearance of our electric stalker.
Where should I go?
Okay. Let's see, Cassandra, what are other good dive bars near here? Some place where Calliope will feel quite comfortable, but also nowhere where they would expect her to be. Perhaps
She could hang out with Odie?
Oh, that's quite a good idea. Yes. No, that's quite a good plan. Yes. You know where Odie is. Hopefully Odie isn't involved in all of this. Hopefully he wasn't mentioned in your file whatsoever.
My file? I've got a file?
Or didn't you? He said that he knew everything about you.
Oh, does he have a file about me? Wow, I just thought he was, like, really smart.
No. They're not omnipotent. They're divine, but not gods.
Oh.
Goodness.
I mean, down here we say that they are gods. They live up on Mount Olympus. How could they not know everything?
How indeed. There's a lot.
There's a lot of faking till you make it, and a lot of them end up making it because they were faking.
Oh, I assumed that they were just godly beings, and, you know, we just aren't, we don't have enough of whatever it is needed to live up there.
They're really buffoons at heart, dear, trust me.
I mean,
But
look what just happened to one of them as they were trying to leave the bar.
Yeah,
Would that happen to a god? No.
I guess not, actually. I mean, wow. And, no offense, Vara, but, I mean, like, you seem pretty down to earth, you know?
It's a persona, but I appreciate it.
Well, I guess maybe he does have a file on me. Then he probably does know about Odie.
Maybe we should check on him. I do love his tea spilling self.
Right, we should bring him some tea, or rather, Calliope, do you think that you could do us a favor, bring him a little cup of tea, and then have both of you perhaps relocate to, I don't know, a public park, or the equivalent of what we have down here, perhaps a very cozy pile of trash, or a very welcoming dumpster, some sort of a meeting place for us common folk, where we generally go. I've tagged a number of safe spaces throughout the deep with our Capitalism Kills, and bright green, you can't miss it.
Yeah, no, I love the tag. I mean, I tattooed that on you, I think first. That was like the first one.
Yes, you did, right above my butt.
Yeah.
Perhaps I would have considered that a little more carefully first, but what's done is done.
The green ink, I think, really looked good. But yeah, no, there's the main park. I mean, there's the Clockwork Park where there's a lot of like those big gears and the kids crawl all over them. Maybe we could go there.
Certainly, yes. Very, very good. Go to the industrial waste site and await further news there.
Well, I mean, we don't call it the industrial waste site. We call it the park. But I mean, I guess that's because you grew up topside, Delilah.
Oh, right, I apologize. I'm still getting used to the parlance, to the local dialect. The industrial waste park.
I mean, we don't
Please
say
be
the
wary of
industrial waste part
buttons.
at all.
Right.
Just the park. It's the
Go
park.
away to the park.
You just have to wear a suit when you go there so you don't get radiation poisoning.
No, of course, the park suits, yes. Whomst among us is not familiar with that? Do be safe there at the park.
All right, I'll go get Odie. And hopefully he doesn't talk too much to me. Sometimes he's just a little much with all of his like, down with the bourgeoisie and we must rise up and yada yada yada.
He is quite energetic, isn't he? Find him a cup of chamomile if you can.
And I can, but no guarantees it'll stay in his cup.
Well, what are those little cups that younger people generally use with the little sippy nozzle on it? Do you have those down here?
No.
Well then, never mind that idea. Bring him a cup and a back.
That sounds like a topside thing. That's a luxury to be able to keep your beverage from spilling.
It truly is. It truly is, and I must admit I do miss it. But never mind. We've business to attend to, shall we, ladies?
Off we go.
The bartender like holds a big bottle of this sludgy kind of liquid and is like, "You need some for the road?"
I no.
Yes, certainly. As a member of the common folk, I do enjoy our local cuisine. I will, of course, partake. Thank you for your hospitality.
The bartender just like holds out the bottle ready to pour it in whatever container you offer.
Do you have a container on her?
I would assume you have a sippy cup type container that you mentioned.
You have a travel mug that is a sippy cup.
You have a travel mug.
Is it like also like something you decked out to be cool? So it has like some spikes on it, like it's wrapped in black leather.
Oh, I hate this so much. Yeah. Okay. Right. Here, let's fill this up and Calliope, I'll send this with you as a supplement for our dear Odie, who clearly needs it more than I.
So you hold out a travel thermos that you've decked out with like black tape and like you've tagged it green and like tried to make it look really cool, but they don't even have like travel mugs down here. No one's like on the go, like on the commuter train down here. Everyone's just trying to make it work. And so the fact that you have it, Calliope just like arches an eyebrow and she's like, "Oh yeah, one of those fancy things, huh?" And the bartender just lugs it up. What's that?
Never mind that. It is a relic that I am eager to rid myself of. Please take it off my hands.
What other innocuous things do you think that they don't have down here that you might have on your person?
Okay. Maybe they don't have like fancy makeup. Like maybe they have like makeup made out of like coal and things like that. Maybe like lipstick in a tube is a thing that's different. What else? What do y'all think? I'm sure toys that aren't like garbage.
Mm-hmm.
like little like musical instruments, all of the things that are not necessities of life
Mm-hmm.
that people on the top side would consider to be necessities of life and part of their daily living and existence. So musical instruments, toys, luxuries, maybe even sugar.
Like certain things that might be really hard to grow in their area, and like maybe they can't really grow stuff. I mean,
Tower, yeah, maybe like fresh fruit and
fresh
vegetables.
fruit
Oh
and
no, getting too
vegetables.
real again. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have like a small tomato plant in your apartment, and that's like the height of luxury.
Yeah, yeah. And you know how like in the old times they used to like get like an orange at Christmas or like have a pineapple and just use it as decoration as like a sign of, yeah, I have a pineapple, what's up?
There's a large black market for UV lamps.
Yeah. Like sunshine. I mean, that's kind of what the bartender felt,
Oh my
right? Like
God.
when he
Are
was
they
with
vitamin
them.
D deprived?
They are very
like all of
vitamin D
them.
deprived.
Totally. Being tan is like, oh my God.
Are all
You
like
do all
then
day is lay
topsiders
around.
like really tan because there's just not a lot of sunlight that's gonna get
A bunch
down
of
to them.
tan upper level plumbers wearing mascara.
Hell yeah.
And drinking out of their sippy cup.
Yeah, drinking out of their very advanced, very, very wealthy sippy cups. Their fancy person.
All right, I love it. So he glugs all of this like viscous sludge into your thermos. Calliope just kind of nods, like, "Of course you have this," but also like admires that you decked it out and camouflaged it to be a little less opulent. Do you give Calliope the thermos then?
Yes, yeah, give it to her.
She does a little like cheers to you and says, "All right, I'll give it to Odie. And yeah, we'll be at the park if you need us."
Very good. Travel safely there. I'm just gonna give her a little tap on the shoulder. All right then, let's be out. Let's be on our way.
She kind of leans into the tap as like a cat like leans into like being pet, like very very much enjoying the contact. Oh, your mic cut out. Did you say something?
Oh, I said, "Oh God!" in my gay panic voice. Continue.
Your gay panic voice cut out the microphone.
Yeah.
All right. Is the party heading out of the bar then? And what is your intention to travel to next?
The first thing I do is I give the file folder to Vara because I don't trust myself to not get it covered in dirty water.
Just gonna win-winnie it away. It's my little hidey hole.
With your ability, do you have like one thing at a time? Is it like just an infinite vacuum of stuff?
Yeah, it says you may store any small object you own, putting it into a magical space nobody can get to. You may retrieve anything you stored at any time it appears in your hand.
Wow, so it's like multiple items. That's interesting.
I'm assuming I can't like put like a luggage or anything. Nothing like obscenely large, but
cool. Yeah, I would just say keep track of what's in your win-winnie so that if you need something from your inventory, you have a sense of what's in there.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. The party is heading out. Who's helming the dive? Who's leading the way? By the way, Cassandra, you're missing half of your suit.
Yeah.
Oh.
I think I didn't notice that until I get there, and then I just go to like start putting it on. And it's just like, oh, for fuck's sake. And start taking the Sharp's suit instead. Like, all right.
So you have half of Sharp's suit and half of your own. So it's half sludge covered. The other half is ill-fitting.
Oh God, is anybody cool? Are any of us cool?
We're all just trying to make it by.
Shit. All right. I will lead. Let's go. Away. I'm gonna roll 2d6, I guess, to act under pressure. I think was what it was.
Yep, act under pressure for the navigation for helming.
Literally.
That's a 5. That's a 5.
I don't think
we're just not good at visiting this bar. I don't know why we keep coming back
here.
Would anyone like to help?
Even
That
with
didn't
help,
go
it only
too well
costs
last
one,
time.
right?
Yeah, and I'm wondering, I feel like multiple people can help because multiple people can then share in the consequences. So let's see.
It's okay. Let me get wet. It's fine.
Because that's interesting. Because, like, can you stack helps? Let's see. See if I can find it quickly. Because I feel like because there's a consequence, it makes sense. But also in the back of my head, I feel like I looked this up once and it is one person. So we'll do one person for now, and I'll look it up at our break just to see if that's the case for future roles. So yeah, helping wouldn't really help in this case because you're not going to boost beyond a 6. So who did that? Was that Delilah?
Yes, that roll of 5.
Okay. So Delilah, as you are heading out, like through the little porthole, which is no longer kind of frothing with electric energy, the water seems still, but they do seem warmer than when you first dove through here. It seems like the electricity maybe like heated up the water around, and the smell of garbage is just like in your suit's mask. You can just kind of like, it's pungent, and you can kind of, it's like warm garbage smell inside your mask. As you swim through, the price you pay for failing the role of exiting the bar is that unfortunately the grate that had been installed by the bartender, your flipper gets caught in it, and while you are able to kind of navigate the waters all right, the grate is kind of like toppled over into the water, like the metal part at the top, and just kind of like sinks down to the bottom, joining the rest of the garbage, kind of floating around Poseidon's dumpster. And the last thing you hear as you like dive into the hole is the bartender saying, "Hey, I installed that special for you," in reference to Cassandra, as the grate has been taken out of commission for now. But you're able
the
to.
Bartender's name.
The bartender has not been yet named. I don't think anybody asked.
Okay.
We didn't.
I saw
None
that
of us did.
tag. I see that you ship them. I know that you want a name, so you can ship them.
I do want a name so I can ship them because I think it's cute in like a, I don't know, like an April Ludgate kind of Parks and Rec kind of way. Like one of them's the spooky and the other one's just like
A guy.
running a bar.
Did you want to ask his name?
Yes, I want to ask him his name.
So as Delilah kicks the grate into the water to sink down below, Cassandra, do you follow as well?
I probably do, but I think I look at the grate and then just sort of like, there's just a second of just like, oh god, what? And then just sort of like give a wave and then jump in.
As you bring your hand to be like, oh god, he like wonders if you're going to clutch the necklace, and he does one of those up, sees that you don't, and then does a little half-hearted wave like, all right, see you next time, chirping on my floor, as you jump into the hole.
I think I go in it as I go. It's just like, it wasn't my fault this time.
He nods and he's like, that is true. And Vara, at the end, what do you say?
Well, considering that we frequently mess this up, is there a way I can apologize, Mr.
Leonis. Leon, to my friends.
Leon? Can I call you Leon, or not sure where we are right now?
I don't want to put a label on it, but you're welcome back anytime, as long as you're spending. By the way, who's picking up the tab? Ms. And he does the same name thing with you.
Vara.
I believe you haven't paid for your electric guy and for your two friends here with their sludge shots.
Well, I don't claim the electric guy, but I know how we really do need to support small business. So I'm just gonna win Winnie like my credit card and give it to him.
He has like a little HUD that's like on the bar that displays like all sorts of like little screens and things, and it seems like the technology is produced like topside. Like it seems like much cleaner and nicer than anything in this bar. He runs the card and it like automatically like takes the credit from your account. It's like just like a very like swift transaction. Everything's linked to you. Everything has like your profile and information and everything. And And he hands it back to you, and he's like, well, come back whenever you want. I'll be using this tip to get the grate fixed. And yeah, I don't know if we're friends, but you're certainly some of my only customers.
We do appreciate the grate. Fantastic addition. Have a good day. And I'm just gonna zip off.
As you jump through the hole, he's like, he looks at the space where the grate used to be, and he's like, it was. And with that, we'll go to a quick break as our party is now hot on the trail of some kind of under the table dealings related to the trades guilds here, the kind of the electric, the plumbing, and the piping trades guilds, which basically run this city, although we are at the bottom of it, and they are coming down from the top. So we'll see what they're up to. Mm-hmm.
I also, as soon as we get back out, I find wherever I stashed my phone, and I leave a 5-star review.
What does your review say of Poseidon's dumpster?
I think I say something like personalized service. Because I have a great...
That's fantastic.
Like, serves the local delicacies. And just like all stuff that's like technically true, but isn't
a hidden
actually
gem
a
in Poseidon's deed.
Yeah, basically.
I love it. I love it so much. Yep. And it shows up as the 3rd review, and by far the most glowing.
There you go.
But yeah, we'll be back. We'll be back at 11:30 Central Time. So see you there, everyone. And we'll take a little bit of a bio break here. But yeah, thanks for watching, and don't go anywhere. Hello, Internet! We are back with more Monster of the Week, Above and Below. As our party has been told to hydrate by chat, so thank you, chat. Thanks, Celestial. And they wanted to save their hydration for stream because they saw your directive there. So here we go, hydration. And the party has just gotten some information, found out some of the kind of nefarious underpinnings of perhaps one of the main industries that makes all of Elysium run, which is electric, plumbing, and the pipe system that takes people from bottom to top. There have been some cover-ups, disappearances. The party's on the case as Odie has pointed them into the direction of things that have been happening, but no one wants to talk about it, as they are now heading to meet with 4 very aptly named NPCs that represent the electric company at the station nearby. They've just left the bar, Poseidon's Dumpster, and left a 5-star review for the service that they received from Leonis, the bartender. Monster Hunters, what do you do?
All right.
I guess we have to check, I guess, what time they're supposed to be coming, because we can't be late.
Are we intended to go with you, dear? Because I don't know if our presence would be as welcome as yours.
Do we? I guess I would know where Ithaca is stationed. Because from the file, Allison.
Yes, you would know exactly where to find Ithaca.
I'm not sure. Do you guys feel like maybe someone needs to protect? What are Ithaca's pronouns? Sorry.
Ithaca goes by they, them.
Okay. Someone would go to protect Ithaca, go protect them or warn them.
Oh, it's quite a good idea. And Cassandra, of course, you could say you have an excuse. You could say you received a premonition, not that we're pseudo-collaborating with the people who are trying to kill them because it will suit us ultimately in the end. We're not collaborating. You know what I mean? It's quite complicated, really, already. How does that sound to you, dear?
You know, people don't tend to react well when I talk about having premonitions about doom. They also tend not to believe me.
You know, I actually had a friend very like that. His name was Bruno. Delightful chap. A little creepy, a little on. I think you two would get along handsomely. But that makes sense. Perhaps we can pose as Ithaca's co-workers and convince them that we need some sort of orientation, or make a mistake in such a way that they need to be distracted from their normal duties to clean it up and are thus not available to be murdered. Thoughts?
Well, we know that there's a shortage. There's a shortage of people. Maybe I can bring you guys with me as new recruits. You just have to fill out these applications. With your skill set or made up skill set for the purposes of giving you a job that you're not qualified for, but we need people anyways because of the manpower shortage.
I was going to say, Vara, you know perfectly well that when I first arrived at your employment agency, I discovered that I unfortunately have next to no skill.
It's okay, but this is for the purpose of illusion and bureaucracy, just so it's filled out. No one really reads it.
Right, of course. Yes, all right. We will construct a fake and very deceptive identity wherein we are, in fact, skilled trades workers, won't we, Cassandra?
I believe you should. Well, if we're going to do this, you should call me Iphigenia.
Was that Iphigenia?
I'll put how you spell it in chat.
All right, that's quite the mouthful. Delightful name.
Well, it's no vanilla, but okay.
It's no vanilla. What is the name of a woman of the people? Perhaps some sort of Bob S. No. Oh dear, you may need to help me out on this one, dear.
A name that won't make you stand out Maybe Sam. Sam is very nondescript.
It really is, yes, and of course it can be short for Samantha, the most honourable and delightful plumber in all of existence, top of her class, first order of plumbing. But we won't tell them that, it will simply be Sam.
Sam,
Yeah.
Samson, Samantha, no one really knows. So,
Maybe,
very
maybe-
much like a Jane Doe name, if you will.
Quite, yes, quite like it. Although,
Is this the
You're not-
deep cut
Yeah, but-
backstory?
oh my god, the original. No. No, Sam is quite well. Sam Jane Doe, that is an appropriate length for a name.
And perhaps you can just call me Jenny.
All right, Jenny is not that I am intimidated by long mouthful names, because my name is certainly one of them, but if Iphigenia wishes to be called Jenny, then it shall be so.
When the party makes entirely new names.
Sorry.
We're being covert.
Vara, on the network that you have tapped into successfully, you do see that the arrival of the team is fairly imminent, and that they are taking in the central pipe that is in the electric district, kind of where basically all of the kind of grunt work happens in Poseidon's Deep, and like all of the like specialty, innovation, refinement, like that kind of work happens up above on Mount Olympus. And so this district is like just very like churn it out, keep things going, keep everything running. And there's like a central pipe that runs down for transport. And they're scheduled to arrive there shortly.
Okay, well, off we go. I guess the best thing would be for us to get there before they do, so we can get all of this processed, badges, pictures, all of that fun stuff taken care of. And then you guys have to find Ithaca.
Oh, you're just loving this, aren't you, you little bureaucrat? Well, have your
I
fun.
love planning. I love planning.
Oh dear, has this all been an elaborate scheme to actually get us involved in your organization? I know that you're quite interested in recruiting new recruits.
Well, you also didn't let me make an itinerary for a small vacation, and I'm maybe a little bit deprived of that planning aspect. So, given that, we have to at least enjoy the seedy and deceptive parts of our work. We might as well make it things we like.
Certainly, good. Now you're thinking like one of us. The common folk. All right, let's be off to make our glorious fake identities.
Should we stop anywhere for clothing? I'm not sure that bikes, electricity, leather makes sense. I'm not sure if
Right.
Odie maybe has some disguises of any other sort of trades.
Perhaps we can scavenge in one of the dumpsters behind the Goodwill or something similar.
Probably just some nondescript jumpsuits.
We could go dumpster diving.
There are plenty of
I'm not-
dumpsters.
I'm
Not
not
so
sure
many
how
stores.
much how many of the dumpsters are just purely refuse and which ones will actually have some form of clothing.
Only one way to find out.
We have established that we're quite good at diving based on our ability to go to that bar, so I don't see what the harm could be in doing this.
No issues, no problems.
Alright, dumpster diving for clothing it is. Just very fitting for the atmosphere. Alright.
And you do have access to Odie if you ever need him. You can just message him, or he probably set up like a little comm link situation if you need to activate that within reasonable distance.
Audio only or audio video?
That's up to you guys.
Do we FaceTime him?
Do you FaceTime him?
Like
Yeah.
garbage cell phones. They would have like a clamshell.
Just open the clamshell.
Or the bricks, like the really classic old.
I guess because like the old technology is what trickles down most of the time.
Right.
Topsiders get the nice stuff, so
Yeah, once people at Pop have used their phone for 2 years, they, I don't know, flush it down the proverbial toilet to us. Or maybe the literal toilet? I don't know.
Also the literal one, yeah. A lot of pipes come down
Just-
here.
Whip out like a pink Motorola Razr or whatever is the equivalent in this world.
That's
Like,
that's Odie's phone for sure.
that's Odie's phone.
But yes, what would the party like to do?
Let's see if we can't arrange something with Odie before we go dumpster diving. They might smell funky.
Yes, quite. Well, if you think that that's appropriate, then I will follow your lead, dear, because not that I'm hesitant to go dumpster diving at all, but if there is an alternative.
I think I text Odie. Just like probably using the like T9, is that what it was? When you had to like push all the buttons multiple times
Mm-hmm.
to get like a single letter.
I remember that well.
Lots of thumb motions.
You're so old.
And just I'm glad we all remember that.
Yeah.
At least. Just sort of type out sort of need corporate disguises. Can you help?
Odie writes back and says, I'm loath to clothe my team in the garb of the enemy, ... And then writes back again, but if it will help us take down those in charge that oppress us, ... then I guess I can loan some of my old sweaters.
I think I send back, it's for subterfuge and shenanigans.
He writes back and says, oh, then my sweaters won't cut it. He says, what about Vara?
Sorry.
What's that?
He only has 2 sweaters to begin with.
And
we can't pick one.
they both have holes.
Oh dear.
He writes back, what about Vara? ?
What about
I hold up the phone.
I'm just going to type like a very I write in paragraphs it's like Vara here. Do you intend to ask whether or not I have clothing to give, or whether or not I'm doing well? ? Please clarify. Like, thank you. Like,
Writes back, hi Vara! ! Wavy emoji. I thought maybe you had corporate clothes because you kind of are still a little bit corporate.
Well, we really need something that's more tradesperson-esque. Just send that.
He writes back, on the job training.
I'm confused. I'm going to turn it back to them and be like, what does this mean?
That is not clear to me, but Vara, couldn't you simply reach into that magical whatchamacallit of yours and summon us some clothing that is appropriate to the situation?
Well, I don't have my whole closet there. I have a couple of blazers. Blazers over what you're currently wearing. I'm not sure it'll be quite the correct atmosphere, but we can certainly try.
Yeah, I think you only have access to stuff that you've put in there. It's not like a dimensional space.
I figured I had preemptively put because I mean she's a planner. I assume she would have 1 or 2 spare blazers in case she spills her coffee, plus the hairdryer emergency kit sort of thing.
Yes, yeah, whatever you have put in there in the past, but you can't just will it into existence. But yeah, totally, okay. She's a planner.
I'm gonna say I only have 2 blazers. That's all I can provide.
Odie writes back to clarify because your radio silence probably indicated that he didn't know what he meant. And he's like, oh, I meant that you could probably find something on the site because they have uniforms there. Also, go proletariat! !
He only texts in red, it's a whole thing. I could certainly try, but at least for us to get in there, I'm gonna have you guys put these on, and I'm gonna pull also 2 blazers and give them to them. Just until we can get inside and find something more appropriate.
Oh dear. All right. I'm just going to, and Delilah's going to take off her jacket that's like been heavily modified. It's clearly quite important to her. Just going to like stash it someplace.
I
Put
can
on the
put it in
blazer.
the. I can win-winnie it. Just.
That'd be lovely, dear. Yes, please. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm trusting you with this. I trust that you won't do any sort of do-good magic to it, or who knows what you divine types.
I promise I will not dull the spite. I'm just gonna put it back on the hanger that the blazers were in and just.
It does not inspire confidence, dear, but all right, I appreciate it nonetheless.
As the clothing gets close.
I just braided my hoodie. Like just take off the like zip up hoodie and just put the blazer on. Just like hey.
As the clothing gets close to Uvara, it just like starts to like get that little staticiness, so it like clings to whatever it's close to. The fabric just kind of clings to you from the static of your hammer.
Oh well. Not ideal. I'm just gonna kind of like try to shuffle my feet to discharge a little bit.
Right,
Okay.
then.
Off we go. Tube system. I'm not sure how we have the tube set up here. Is it just like nearest adjacent to like a subway / telephone booth type situation?
Yeah, so just to set the scene with the tubes, so one of the main industries here is the TTC, the Transportation Tube Commission. The TTC is kind of running the transportation within Poseidon's Deep, also above from Mount Olympus, and then between the two, above and below. So kind of running up the length of this spire, extending up through the water, breaking through the surface, and then extending upwards skyward. And then within, there's like kind of more like Futurama type tubes that like go horizontally and like kind of shoot you around and like take you where you need to go. There's plenty more tubes here though that deal with like transportation of goods. So there's not too many ones for people. You see a lot more people just like kind of trudging around with diving gear and like various things that they need for their jobs. You've heard, or actually you guys would know, you're from above, but up above, no one walks anywhere. It's all tube system. There's like an extensive network up there. Down here, things are a little bit more utilitarian, but there is a main people transporter. The lines are long and they tend to break down frequently because the systems aren't well maintained down here. But then there's the main system that comes down from above, which is a little bit nicer. You're muted maybe? Or I can't hear you, Tech.
We don't need like subway pass anything. Like I don't know if there's like a swipe card.
You could probably use your credits to pay.
I always hope the turnstile, but I suppose we could pay this one time if we're trying to be above board.
So I'm going to, I don't know how we key in the location, swipe, key in where, or pick the correct tube that's gonna take me. I don't know how many like stopovers there are, but en route to the outpost.
So you have a choice. You can wait in line for this tube because the line is long and it's not a well-maintained infrastructure down here. That might make you late for the meeting, but it will get you there. Like that's the most direct route there. Or you could take the streets. There is more risk of getting, any kind of street travel encounter versus going there directly. But you don't have to wait, so you could head there immediately.
I do happen to have a motorcycle we could take, potentially.
Will 3 people fit on the motorcycle?
I don't know about that. We may need to locate a sidecar or thieve something else.
I'm sure Odie can help you out with sidecar stuff if that's your.
I take my phone back out and to Odie, I just sent motorcycle sidecar ? Y/N.
He writes back and says, "Thought you'd never ask." He lets you know that he and Calliope are at the park. So if you give them a minute, he can procure what you need from Calliope's shop. Because as you know, Delilah, she also has motorcycles
I do.
And kind of keeps them maintained there. So the party has like probably like 5-10 minutes to wait, as you're not far away from these central locations. Is there anything you'd like to do while you're waiting for your sidecar delivery?
I'd start filling out the paperwork with my fake information. What? It needs to get filled out at some point.
Yeah,
Apparently.
Absolutely.
All right, let me just do this first. And Delilah's gonna pull out her spray paint can and she's gonna spray the wall wherever they're at with Capitalism Kills, and then like an XOXO after it. Like just very, very elegant handwriting.
Awesome. People are walking by. They pay you no mind. Like, this is such a common occurrence here in Poseidon's Deep. It's not long until Calliope and Odie ride up, riding one of Calliope's motorcycles with Odie in the sidecar. The sidecar has been soldered on, and it's a different color and has clearly been taken off of another bike, potentially not one that belongs to Calliope. Who knows? Odie looks like very small in the sidecar. Like, it's like a big kind of bucket seat, and he's just like slumped over in it, and like basically his like neck and shoulders are popping out, and it's just got like a kayak kind of feel as he's like entire body is like just slumped down in there. And he's like, "Guys, how's it going?"
Oh my, you two are quite the old couple, aren't you? It is going well. As you can see, we have transformed completely into an entirely different persona.
Yeah, I mean, it makes me shudder to think of it, but it's you gotta do it for the cause, you know? You gotta get into the headspace of the enemy and really see what it's like to have all of the means of production kind of like under your thumb, you know? That's what that blazer says to me. You look good though, Vara.
Well, you know, aside from the capitalistic implications, I appreciate that.
You are right, though, Odie. We do need to try to get into the head space of it. We need to get into character for these capitalists. All right. Poor people are dumb and deserve.
You love working. Productivity is all you want.
I simply live for it. If I could live at work, I would kill my family if my boss asked me to. I would do it without hesitation. I've never taken a vacation day in my life.
Calliope revs the engine of the motorcycle, and she's like, "I can't even listen to you talk like this."
No, I know, I really don't like it at all. But I will lick those boots if I must to resolve this situation, and certainly to keep you safe, Calliope, dear.
Well, I appreciate it. I mean, I think we're doing a pretty all right job. Odie and I were enjoying the park, or weren't we, Odie? And Odie from the sidecar pops up. Yeah, I mean, you terrify me just a little bit. Not gonna lie, Calliope, but it's better than being attacked in my own headquarters. So let's go back and feed those radioactive pigeons.
All right, be mindful of their feces. It is also radioactive, as might be expected. May we purloin your means of conveyance as a means of conveyance for ourselves?
Calliope nods, swings her leg off the bike. She does the whole, like, takes off the helmet and the hair, like, swishes back in the sunlight. Just looks like a regular badass. Odie kind of scrambles out of the bike. Like, he, like, tries to extricate himself from the seat. And he's like, "Oh, hold on. Oh, I think my leg's stuck." And as he's, like, jiggling his leg out, like, again, his pant leg rises, and you see, like, just his, like, really thick wool socks, and, like, his shoe is, like, flopping off on the bottom, just, like, making a little, like, mouth with the leather part. And he's like, "Wait, I think I got it." And he just tumbles out and lands in the dust. It's all yours, team.
All right, I'll trade you for mine, and I trust you'll take good care of it, as I will take good care of yours. Onward, comrades.
You can have both if you want. Calliope and I can walk back to the park.
Oh, are you quite certain?
Yeah, I think we can handle it. I mean, is there anyone in particular we should be looking out for?
Hammers. If you see a hammer, just walk the other way.
He looks at your hammer.
Including me, because you're leaving now. But in general.
Bye! He turns on his heel and heads off towards the park. Calliope's like, "I feel like I'm I feel like I'm in charge of a lot right now, but good luck, guys. Just text him if you need us.
All right. Be safe.
She nods, and they both head off towards the park. They both have under their arms their little like radioactive suits that they had taken off that they're going to put back on when they go to the park.
All right, then. Who knows how to drive a motorcycle?
You.
Well, I do. We need one more person. There's 2 motorcycles, 1 sidecar, so I'm going to need one of you to drive it.
Can't we have 2 people on the motorcycle with the sidecar?
You know, yes, and we didn't give them mine, so it's fine. I suppose it will go to waste. All right, then. Let me just park it.
I could have them take it if you guys don't want it. I didn't know if you wanted 2 motorcycles.
Yeah.
All right. Odie comes rushing back and says, "We need this after all. It's a really far walk."
I knew it would be. All right then, ladies, pile into the sidecar. Let's go.
As you guys get into the motorcycle, you just see Odie like struggling, even in the rearview mirror as you drive away, just trying to get the bike started, and it keeps like tilting on him, and he's like, "What?" As he fades into the distance, as your motorcycle drives forward. It cuts a very badass scene as you guys are kind of like weaving through town. There's like a just like a very urban steampunky landscape around you. Like there's like gears turning and like steam hissing. You hear the creaking of pipes as the bubble that you're all in, metallic bubble, is like shifting in the water that sloshes around Poseidon's Deep. People are like looking downtrodden, like kind of like covered in grime or just like workman's clothes, like thick leather gloves, suspenders. Like people are just kind of like doing the work of the day, trying to get by. Everyone's kind of gaunt from the lack of sunlight, from the lack of nutrition. We've established that fresh fruits and vegetables aren't like a common thing here. Everyone looks tired, and you see people in line waiting for the pipe to transport them around Poseidon's Deep. They are just like haggard as they're just standing in their line waiting for their turn to go to work. As you guys kind of blow by on the bike, the 3 of you just like looking quasi-corporate, but also like very badass, make your way towards the electric district. Can someone roll Act Under Pressure for the navigation?
Oh, is that another cool? Shit.
I have +1 cool. I don't know about everyone else.
I have none cool. Please, you be
I
the
have
cool.
-1, so.
Oh, okay. Nine.
Hey, nice. So you succeed at reaching the electric district without being waylaid by a side quest. However, you do have, I would say the hard choice that you face is, I kind of want to mess with the mode of transportation from here on out. So the motorcycle's probably going to run out of gas, and it's a little bit hard to come by if you make it there on time, or if you stop to refuel, you will be like 10 minutes late to the arrival of these folks. So either kind of like cash your motorcycle upon arrival or keep it in play for future journeys, but you'll be a little late.
We really don't do well with lateness.
No, we won't be late. At the plant, we'll keep an eye out for that precious gasoline that they are always hoarding, and perhaps procure some for our means of conveyance.
So basically we get there on time, but we're out of fuel.
Yes. Just as you arrive, the motorcycle sputters, and you just kind of like drift a little bit into the final stretch as your motorcycle completely runs out of fuel. Yeah. You land right in front of the pipe exit, where you see kind of Futurama style, like coming down the pipe, bloom, 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 4 individuals, all with hammers at their hip, all crackling with electricity, all of them wearing smart, crisp uniforms of Zeus Industries. the same uniform that you've seen Vara wear from time to time, that she was wearing when she initially came here in exile as an exiled divine from the company. And they land, like, I don't know how it would work, multiple people in the pipe. I guess they like shoot out of the pipe, move out of the way, then the next person comes.
Maybe there's like a moving conveyor belt, like at airports where it like moves like that, so you come out and it like moves you to the side.
Nice. Pipe logistics. Well, certainly the other pipes in Poseidon's Deep don't have that. It's just like you gotta scrabble out of the way. Hopefully the next person doesn't kick you like they're coming down a water slide. But this one is coming from topside, so it's quite nice. Conveyor belt and everything. The four of them are standing there. What are you guys doing? You're on a drifty motorcycle. How would you like your arrival to look to greet these folks?
We should put this motorcycle somewhere else and make it look like Vara's in charge.
Like we drift it behind a building, like behind the building, and I just like hop out.
And is the rest of the party coming with you?
I need to get
Unless
you guys.
we see a covert means of ingress, perhaps a trash disposal chute that we can climb up into, or a loading dock that we can... I don't know, I suppose we should.
Yes, I will just blanket introduce you as my trainees. They hardly look at me in the eye anyway, so I doubt they're really gonna pay attention to you. The blazer cover should be enough for them to not notice any details.
All right, mum's the word then.
But we do need to find.
Doing well, I have to ask.
What's that?
Oh, Cassandra, do you see this going well for us with your future vision? You're muted.
Muted.
No, I'm not. I'm just not saying anything. I'm just making confused faces.
In English, darling.
Yes.
All right, that's all I need. Onward we shall go.
Delilah, you notice a complete lack of any kind of magical presence coming out of Cassandra with that answer. All right.
Her eyes look completely normal.
So what's the plan? What are you guys doing?
So you all will be my trainees. I will need to get you guys inside with badges, but from there you have to find Ithaca. Clearly I've been planning this out while I've been in the sidecar. Like I've been putting things together. So I just hand them pieces of paper. It's like, here's a map. Here's what Ithaca, their employee profile looks like. It's in a little cute folder, pinned together, one for you and one for you. I know your favorite color is black, Delilah. I have a muted gray that's as close as it's going to get, but I hope you like it.
You're very thoughtful, thank you.
So in this folder, because you would have this information on Ithaca, Ithaca has a black skin, cornrows, kind of with a little bit of color, probably a bright green to match your graffiti, dark brown eyes, has spectacles, kind of half moon spectacles. This is all their employee ID photo. Works a lot in, I think Ithaca would be doing a lot with the output of the electricity. So maximum use, minimum electric output. So kind of looking at levels. And it seems from their file that they are on the cusp of being promoted and patroned and being able to get out of this place and go up to Mount Olympus.
So I give y'all both your folders, and then I'm gonna just look at you and start fixing your blazers, be like, don't say anything, just and I guess that we're behind the the side of the building. They've all just arrived. I'm just gonna pop out and just start walking towards them, very power suit walk, we are in control. Hi, hello, welcome. And I'm assuming they will follow me because that would make sense. But I'm not
Jenny
sure.
and Sam, I assume, take a moment to square themselves before following. Like,
Be like, we hate poor people. This is the mindset. Like,
okay.
Yeah. I think Cassandra just sort of tries to be like, okay, I'm just gonna be unassuming and looking like I'm real nervous for my first day.
And
'Cause
are
that's
you
true?
are you pretending to be employees of like the Zeus Industries, like with a hammer and everything?
I'm trying to present them as like this is their first day. They have nothing. Like they haven't taken their employee ID pictures. Nothing. Like this is their first time. I've just processed their applications and they're with me right now. Sort of deal.
All right.
I'm
Around
acting like I'm an
news.
intern.
Yeah. Where's the bathroom, dear? I have no idea.
All right. As you all approach with your vast corporate personas, you see the four folks, just like with the best on-point names that you can imagine. They have their name badges, so you can see that they are Crete, Athens, Acropolis, and Spinelli. Spinelli looks very bland, like very boring looking person. The four of them are standing there. They all have clipboards. They all have hammers at their hips. You also notice that they have kind of a Ghostbusters backpack type setup, where they're, three of them at least, have like a thick strap backpack with like something that has like a bunch of tubes and like attachments coming out of it with like a funnel connecting to the back. There's like lights flashing on the back. Vara, you've never seen anything like this in your work, or you have no record of it as part of like the company's protocols. So you can't quite tell what a person from Zeus Industries would be doing with this. The four of them are standing there, and Crete steps forward and says, "Well, where's Sharp's replacement?"
Hi, good afternoon, Bridget. Nice to meet you. These are my new trainees, Sam, Jenny. Don't mind them. They're just here to observe. Thank you so much for making the trip down here. How was it?
Crete will immediately sticks his hand out for the handshake, business card in the other hand, like it's like a very formal, like
It's very like practiced and transactional. Like what's happening?
Yep. Yeah, almost like a interpretive dance. The trip down was terrible, obviously. I mean, as soon as the tubes, you can tell where the tubes change into the bottom layer. It's just terribly maintained down here. Can't even take care of their own infrastructure. It's laughable. But what can you expect from a bunch of people that aren't even patroned, so, you know.
Yes, those are the problems.
Yes.
Well, great to have you here. I'm here to just take you through the outpost as it functions and answer any questions you might have. If you'll just follow me, we can go through the front entrance and go through security.
That's a lot of protocol. Sharp said we're just supposed to meet here and do some cleanup while the other folks take care of what they're here to do.
Well, we want to make sure that everything is above board, by procedure, by rules. I mean, we wouldn't want to violate any of our security protocol for any new guests. You know better than I how those bylaws are written, so I think it would make sense.
Crete looks like visibly uncomfortable and like looks at the other people and he's like, "This isn't really about the bylaws, though, is it? This isn't exactly part of the official roster of our business, is it?"
Well, not exactly. But one of the best things about what we do as a company is making sure that everything looks okay on paper, in person, and we want to make sure that image is kept.
He narrows his eyes further and has a look of someone that's like kind of in a situation where they're like getting suspicious, and so he's just like paying careful attention to what you're saying, and he's like, "Who are these new people with you?"
Oh, they're trainees, you know, with the turnover rates being what they are. We've been having to recruit more and more applicants, so they just got processed today, and I'm taking them through to get their badges and everything. So they're just here to observe.
one of the people with the backpack kind of shifts his weight, and he's like, do you want us to start while you have this conversation? And Crete looks over to the side and says, yeah, why don't you get started, and I'll take care of this. So 2 of the people wearing backpacks, one of them Spinelli, she kind of fades in the background, hard to see her, she's just a very bland person. But Spinelli,
Splendid.
Spinelli and Acropolis, kind of shoulder their heavy backpacks full of like that, basically like vacuum cleaner from hell. Like it's like all sorts of like tubes and bells and whistles and things. And they begin to walk off towards the electric facility. Athens kind of stands behind Crete. She's like a really buff lady, crosses her arms and just kind of like acts like muscle like behind him. And Crete's like, I just don't understand why new trainees would be brought in on this. This is not exactly new people material.
It's no, absolutely not. It was more just to introduce them to the structure of the company and for them to have some face time with how we do our job here. I mean, it's purely this. I can send them away to just get their badges on their own, but I figured they needed the guidance.
I don't think you need to send them away. If anything, I'll be bringing them back with me topside just to make sure that this is like cleared all the way through, if you get my meaning.
Sure. I'm sure Jenny and Sam wouldn't have any issue with that, but yes, all for the verification for the company.
Crete looks at you, Cassandra, and also looks at you, Delilah, with like this very appraising look. What do you do?
I do the thing where like you make eye contact with someone, but you're clearly too nervous to like keep it. So it's like you look and then you like are just like, oh god, no, why am I looking at them? Oh no, and then just like down at the shoes.
The shoes are very well kept, like in comparison to Odie's shoes, which you just saw flapping in the wind. Like these shoes are basically like out of the box, like shiny Italian leather kind of vibe.
And before we started doing all this, I tucked my pendant into sort of like inside my just sort of shirt that I'm wearing, so it's not visible.
Noted. Delilah, what do you do when you're scrutinized by this topsider?
Kind of levels with him, like looking at him straight on, not really flinching or looking away at all.
He meets your gaze. You hear Athens kind of like shifting her weight. And in that moment where you're all kind of having a standoff with like the first interaction that you've had with someone from topside in quite some time, and like that's bringing up different emotions in all of you. In the background, you hear a loud sound, like a generator being started. And you begin to see in the building flashes of light, like a light show. Light begins to spill out of the building that the 2 folks had entered into. It shines through the windows. It like comes through all of the cracks in the building, little pinpoints of light, like a laser show. It begins to like just completely light up, like rays just shooting out everywhere, up the smokestack, out of the parts underneath the doorway. And you just smell kind of like a sizzling smell. And you hear like a loud noise coming from inside, like just a generator humming and humming. In the radius of this building, people have begun to turn and look at it. And for just a moment, there's a like sense of confusion and panic as people are like yelling, like, "Oh my God, what's happening? Is something malfunctioning? Oh my gosh!" And as that's happening, kind of an EMP pulse, boom, shoots out from the building and washes over all of the folks, except for you all. Those of you standing near Crete, there's like a little bit of a force field around all of you, and the wave washes over all of you and you are not affected by it. However, in a moment's time, those same people that were in a panic begin to calm down and stand there, and they're like, ugh, weird weather we're having today. And they just begin to move away from the building as the lights begin to die down inside.
Lara doesn't know whether she should comment on it or not, because the whole rule is like, keep shut. So
what do you do?
I'm just gonna clap my hands and pretend like nothing happened.
Just like,
Can
well.
Would it be possible to use my soothe at this point to create?
Sure. What's your intention?
My intention is to make him not as suspicious, or to make him less suspicious, because I guess it's like, I don't know if paranoia would be considered like a negative emotion.
Oh, okay. What does it say exactly for your soothe?
You can calm them when you talk to someone for a few seconds in a quiet voice. You can calm them down, blocking any panic, anger, or other negative emotions they have. This works even if the thing that freaked them out is still present, as long as your voice can be heard.
I feel like it wouldn't make him less paranoid of you. I think you'd have to manipulate him to do that.
Okay.
But you can make him less like angry or like something that would otherwise like put him in like a frenzy, because it's kind of like you're like shh, it's okay.
Because I'm just trying to think of how to make him trust me slightly more than he does currently, which is not at all.
Yeah. Well, I will say that I would like to hear reactions from you guys, because that weird shit just happened and you're standing right in front of Crete and Athens, and they've just protected you from whatever came out of that building. And they're staring at you. What do you do?
Sam's reaction is she's really calling on her toughness right now to be steadfast and not even to look at the explosion. She hears it. It's very clear to her what's happening. This perfectly mimics what Calliope said happened in the other spot. She's fairly confident. There's like death involved. She smells that sizzle. She knows. So she's calling on her toughness to stay focused on her mission and does not break eye contact with Crete or Athens, the super buff evil lady.
All right. So the eye contact is steadfast. Roll act under pressure to see how well you can avoid letting emotion creep in.
It's cool. Oh no. Oh shit. Okay, hold on. Why is it always cool? I should have taken
I have +1 cool.
Can
I help her in any way?
If you say how you're helping, but you can also wait to see the roll too, to see if you want to risk it.
Okay.
The roll is a 9.
Do you still want to help?
I don't know if you want to try to make it a 10.
I'm trying to remember what a 9 is for.
A 9 is you have a bad outcome, even though you do what you intended to do.
That's
like
fine.
Like a tougher outcome.
That's okay.
You want to help out then?
Yes. So it's
you do?
plus cool.
So how are you helping? As Delilah is kind of like having this steely gaze, even knowing that there's something terrible happening behind her, she's just trying to keep in character. How do you help her with that?
I have like both my hands around my notebook and they're standing behind me. I'm just gonna reach behind and just squeeze her hand a little bit.
Oh, that's so cute.
Nice. What the fuck?
Let's see, 2d6 plus 1, because it's cool for helping out, right? 7.
All right. On
so
a 7,
+1.
Yep, you get +1, but you also expose yourself. Yep.
Okay, well that's a 10 then.
Okay.
All told.
So with a 10, you do what you set out to do with no outcome.
With no outcome.
Well, with no bad outcome, with no additional bad outcome. Sorry. Sometimes I skip words from my brain to my mouth. But yes, you do what you set out to do. So Delilah, you continue meeting the gaze of Crete and Athens, as though this is like business as usual, with incredible fortitude for a trainee day one, faced with such an intense moment. You feel the squeeze of Vara's hand kind of like helping you stay focused, and in this moment, it weirdly, like seeing the eyes, like the kind of like almost heartless look that Crete has on his face right now. You are thinking of all of the people you knew from Topside, all of the parties you went to, all of like the Plumbers Guild folks that interacted with your family, all of those vapid looks. It's a little triggering, but it also gives you like the fortitude to step out of this time and place and into another one where you had more control, where you kind of understood the game that was being played. For your help out move, which is a 7 to 9, exposing yourself to trouble or danger, Vara, it seems like Crete is like focusing in on Delilah, and so not that focused on you at the moment. However, Athens, cracking her knuckles slightly, seems to be a little suspicious of you more so than Crete, and it looks like Athens is more of the muscle here. So your trouble or danger potentially down the line is that Athens, you've kind of like gotten on their bad side a little bit. What is Cassandra doing in this moment?
So she basically takes the exact opposite approach to what Delilah / Sam did. She doesn't even try to stay cool. Like, she's sort of like, okay, if I'm an intern, I've never seen this before. I was not told this was going to happen. So I think when it starts, she sort of like the first round turns around, looks, and then like sees the wave and like really flinches. And then as it hits the bubble, it's just like, what the fuck? And then sort of like looks like from like Crete, Athens, it's just like, huh. And it just sort of goes like immediately just like, oh god, no.
As you do that, Athens kind of like has one of those like, that's right, like that's what we do kind of a moment with you, takes out her clipboard, and you see Ithaca's picture on there, and she just marks it with the red marker, puts the X over Ithaca's picture.
Also, while I'm sort of doing the like looking back and forth frantically, which is partially acting and partially genuine expression of emotion, can I use the sight to get any insight on if there is a magical component to this whole explosion-y nonsense?
Yes, you can. Describe for us what that looks like. Again, please.
So I think it's just the same thing, sort of like as she goes, she's sort of like almost like old school like pearl clutching. Except it's just like a hand to her chest where her pendant would be like underneath, hanging underneath her shirt.
Nice.
And as she turns around and sort of looks at it, that sort of red bleeds into her eyes and is probably like starting to fade as she like very quickly looks between like Athens and Crete and is hopefully doing it fast enough that they don't notice it as it sort of is slowly fading back in.
Very cool. So the sight allows you to see the invisible spirits, magical influences, and gives you opportunities to spot clues when you investigate a mystery. So if you're not really investigate unless you wanted to go investigate. Are you just looking what you can see right now, or did you actually want to go do some investigation?
At the moment, I do not want to leave this spot because I don't know where the other two are and I'm kind of freaked out. And also, I'm supposed to be an intern who doesn't know shit.
Right, okay. So as the red comes into your eyes and you use the sight, from your vantage point, looking around, the people that got hit by the EMP pulse, the people that were freaking out and are now calm, you don't see any kind of presence around them. Whatever affected them is not like invisible or like magical, continually magical in nature. They do seem really chill right now though. All those people that were like literally like, oh my God, what's happening at the factory? They're just like looking at their watches or like they're chatting with each other. Like they're just going about their business with seemingly no memory of their previous panic. Your sight extends out even further and you see in the windows of the factory, which are kind of like a little bit frosted, a little bit opaque, like you previously had made out shapes of like big machinery and like people working in there. You see people continuing to work in there. You see the machines moving, like the big shadows and silhouettes of the machines are chugging along. Electricity is still being generated as it was before in this factory. However, with your sight, you see that the silhouettes of the people are in some way invisible. Like the people that are in there are no longer there that you would be able to see with your normal sight. But you see them there with your special sight. You see their forms moving and existing, but only using your sight do you see them.
Well, shit. Okay, that is information that I will store away to share with the group later. And that probably freaks me out even more as I'm going like, what the fuck is happening? Oh, Jesus.
Crete says to you, Vara, well, I think we're just about done here. Athens, sorry you couldn't be part of this one, but we've got plenty more to do. She nods. If you all wouldn't mind, though, just want to make sure that this was all on the up and up when it comes to our work. I hope you'll be accompanying me back to Topside so that we can get this all sorted out.
I would relish the opportunity.
All three of us?
You're the one in charge, so you tell me.
Oh, it's whatever you want. If you would like all three of us to come, I'm completely okay with that, and I'll bring any documentation you might need.
Crete and Crete and Athens exchange another look as you say that, Vara.
Oh no.
There's no documentation of this.
Oh, I just meant of the trainees joining the company in case you needed their company profiles. They're not yet logged into the system because they just joined, so I thought you might need those in case you wanted to see them.
Yeah, that sounds like it'd be useful. Give me everything that you have on them, and once the team finishes up here, we'll all be on our way.
I have their applications here. If you want me to get the full write-up, I have to go inside and go to my desk.
Go right ahead.
I'm gonna just scurry off. I'm not sure if I... What do you...
Are you leaving us here?
No, I'm gonna gesture you guys to come with me. I need a hand if you guys could come with as well so I can make copies. Like, we're just gonna...
If you try to take the other two, Crete is actually he'll step aside and Athens steps forward and says, I don't think you all need to go, do you?
Don't we need to get our ID photos taken?
I mean, how are they gonna badge in Topside if they don't have their ID cards? I mean, we can definitely just avoid that part of the protocol, but it's better if they have their badges.
I think this is squarely manipulate someone territory now. Go ahead and roll plus charm.
I also, as she's doing that, I want to make eye contact with Delilah and just sort of, because I imagine we've been working with each other for a while now, so just sort of do a thing to show that, like, if only one of us can go in, it needs to be me. Like,
okay,
sort of like look at her in the eyes and then sort of like glance to the building, back at her, and just sort of like slight head tilt and a bit of a nod, and then just like very subtle.
Yeah, like, I can handle myself out here. You go in, baby.
Yeah. Because I want to know why I could see shadows. Or shades,
I got
or whatever
a
they
7 on
A 7?
my... Yes.
So they'll do it, but only if you do something for them right now to show that you mean it.
To show that I mean to take photos?
Yeah. And that you're not just bullshitting.
I can give them, like, the part of the paperwork that I have now, which is both of their, like, profiles that they fake filled out and don't actually have their information.
Okay. I think he would want something a little bit more... Like, you know how you have to give your driver's license to someone as collateral? I feel like maybe he would want something more important from you to know that you're going to come back, because he's pretty sus of you.
Well, I have the purple and gold file from Sharp.
That's true.
That's like my information packet. I
Yeah.
can give it to him.
Sure. You can give that over to him, as well as all of the forms from your friends. I think you would want, like, your ID or something. Did you, like, forge one for yourself?
Yeah, so, like, I made, like, the guest pass of Bridget, which was
Gotcha.
how I had to when we first did it, it was how I got it reassigned to me. So I could give him that.
You know what? I kind of want to up the ante on this because it's interesting. But, like, and let me know if you think this is too far. But do you think that there's like a thing with the Zeus folks? Because you all have the same shared power, right? You're all divine from Zeus with like the hammer power. Like, I feel like he would want to like link your hammer to his hammer's power. Like, as kind of like the equivalent of like, here's my ID, like I'll be right back. It's kind of like you charge your hammer with his hammer's power. Like, you're linked in some way. Your powers are linked for like the time that you're connected through those weapons. Like, you have the same power source.
Bro, just loan him your hammer. Like, don't link it.
Well, I don't want to give that up. I feel like that's like my only like thing. I don't know if it's as in like he has control over my output, so he makes sure I don't use it, sort of thing, or.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of like that idea popped in my head, and it seemed like there's a little more teeth in that than just like paperwork, you know? And since you're all part of the same organization, that you basically like love the same cult leader, I feel like there's got to be some kind of connection with your hammer power.
Ooh, I have a little badge. We have the little shield badge. I don't know if that's helpful. Because that's like our insignia, right? Like that's like our I don't know, the
cult symbol.
That's our whole cult symbol. Like that's like our main thing. I'm not sure.
Did you have a thought, Polly?
Yeah, so the linking could maybe be, as opposed to like controlling it, it could be almost like just a monitor. So like if you use any of that, he will immediately know. Because like you wouldn't need to use it to like, what you're doing is essentially like you shouldn't need to call on it. So if you do, he would know and know something is up.
That sounds good to me. Does that sound good to you too?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I was just trying to think like, would he be satisfied with paperwork? Like, probably not. There's probably got to be some kind of like culty shit happening here. So he'll say like, yeah, okay, go on. But he like holds out the hammer that he uses as his divine weapon, and you do like a little hammer bump.
Gonna casually bump hammers.
It's like Thor being a bro, just like, what's up? As the metal of your hammer connects, there's like sparks and like kind of like a electric crackling that happens all around it. And you feel like the power of Zeus, wrong thunder god, the power of Zeus that is the cultish leader of this company that you work for. You have kind of like a moment of connection in between the two of you. And for a second, you're afraid that he can like see right through you. Like, it's that deep of a connection. But there's nothing psychic about it. No thoughts of yours have been revealed. It just felt like this moment where you two like really knew each other on like a deep level.
Vulnerability.
Yes. And you have a moment where you both feel in your heart of hearts the love that you have for Zeus, your charismatic leader that have brought you into this organization together and bestowed you with these divine powers. But the moment passes and your hammers are now linked, and he will know, let's say probably for like the next hour, if you use the hammer's power or invoke your thunder abilities in any way. Satisfied, he nods and he's like, all right, be on your way then. We'll be waiting. Say hi to the team on the way out.
I'm just gonna scurry off at this point. Like, I'm afraid to talk more, so I'm just gonna like...
And do you follow the interns?
Do we get to go with? Are we guests? Both of us? Okay, then yeah.
Dip.
Out of there.
Go as fast as I can.
Sidestep.
Like, not even trying to be subtle about like wanting to get out of this situation as quickly as possible.
Zoom in real quick.
So, do you step inside the factory?
Yes.
As you guys enter in, the smell of electricity, kind of like the crackling energy of it, is still in the air. You see exiting on the far side the two people with the Ghostbuster backpacks that had been in here previously. You see just kind of like the very edge of the backpack disappear through the door as they close it behind them, exiting on the far side of the factory, opposite of where you've entered. Inside this factory, everything is running. The machines are running, everything is turning, spinning. Do you still have your sight on, Cassandra?
I probably turned it off just because to avoid risk of detection. But I will probably now sort of the persona shifts off a bit and goes back to sort of just being normal Cassandra. And yeah, I'll turn that on and look specifically to where I saw like the machines and the silhouettes that I saw.
Mm-hmm. As you do,
and I will investigate the mystery.
Ooh. I was going to say, as you do, you go from seeing what Delilah and Vara see, which is an empty factory with machines running, to just with your sight, because you don't have, do you have to roll to use your sight?
No, it just, no, I don't think for this. I think it's just sort of, it's basically an extra layer of...
Like it's a buff for investigating?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically means that I can gather clues that aren't in me that like other people can't.
So just with your sight, which you can activate automatically, you go from seeing just machines running in an empty factory, and as the red fills your eyes, you again see these like invisible shades of like just the human figures that are running these machines. Like they're there, but they are not there. They're still moving and doing their work, but they are kind of ghostly in nature, invisible in nature. Something is ethereal about them, but where their hand is turning the crank is turning. And Delilah and Vara, you can see it turning in the sight that you have. Go ahead and roll Investigate a Mystery as you begin to look around this space.
Typing things. That's a success-ish. I'll take it.
What is it?
It's a success-ish.
What number?
7.
7? That's okay. Yeah, there's many success-ishes. And with your sight, you have more opportunities to spot clues when investigating a mystery. So with a 7, go ahead and hold 1, and I'll give you a little bit more like sight-related content as I answer the one you pick.
So one of I mean, one of the questions is just what happened here. So can I basically, I guess, narrow down the what happened here, because I kind of know there was whatever that bright light was. Essentially, I want to know what happened here to interact with these people in such a way that their like shades or whatever are still here and seeming to function, but they're clearly not actually here. Like, did it kill them and these are ghosts?
How do you investigate that?
I think I probably just like start like sort of just going up to them and just sort of looking around, looking to see if there's any like suspicious piles of ash on the floor, like because it looks like it was bright light and like electricity. Just sort of seeing if there's any like scorch marks or electrical damage on the machines, and then attempting to interact with the sort of ghostly figures and just seeing like if they respond to me at all. Do they respond in the way that I would expect a spirit to, versus just like, or is this like just like sort of like a memory imprint of what these workers were always doing?
So as you go and you Delilah and Vara, you see Cassandra like in doing these investigations, walking, like rubbing the floor and seeing if there's any like dust or ash, and then kind of moving with her hands and like going to like touch something that isn't there. That's what you see. Cassandra, as you're looking around, you see no evidence of electrical damage on the machinery. You see no ashes or dust or remains of humans anywhere in sight. When you go to interact with this person that is like that you can see as kind of like a shade who's like cranking this lever, as you get closer, you see the familiar face of Ithaca, the person that you saw in the profile picture, like the workshop. Ithaca is kind of like just like blurry, like like a shadow almost, kind of blurring in and out even with your sight. You go to like put a hand on Ithaca's shoulder to see if it's a ghost or a spirit or a memory. Your hand, for a moment with your sight activated, like feels a person there, but then whiffs through it, like just like wisp smoke, kind of like a ghastly substance. But there's something there, and then there's not. It's like kind of like in a quantum space where they're like existing and not existing. In that moment that you kind of touch them, Ithaca's face, which was like a shadow of a being, kind of like colorizes and comes back into life, like a full color on of like her as, or them as a person. And their eyes look and lock onto yours, and their face is just like ashen gray and like kind of just devoid of all emotion. Eyes wide, mouth opens and says, "Help me!" And then they go back into that like ghostly visage of nothingness.
Well, that's creepy. God, I don't even know what to do.
What would you do? What would Cassandra do when that happens?
I think she goes and tries to sort of put the hand on again, but this time instead of like if she feels the resistance of like that it feels like it's going to pass through, she's gonna deliberately sort of leave her hand exactly where it was when she could feel the pressure of it actually being there, and sort of see if it changes, like these, like if it's phasing in and out, like if she can feel like it's solid and then it's not, and then it's solid and then it's not, and then sort of try to make eye contact again and just say, I'm gonna try, but I need to know what happened. Can you help me find out?
As you say that and kind of rest your hand on where you think the shoulder is, the vision does not come back. That face, that person's face does not come back. The shadow self, though, keeps working, keeps moving, never stops, never interrupts the rhythm as they phase in and out of kind of that like shadowy nothingness and then like form. And your sight, as strong as it is, can barely track them. As Delilah and Vara, you see Cassandra interacting and reacting to and kind of being frightened of nothing near this machine that's running. And that's where we're going to end today's session, in the warehouse, as the three of you are getting to the bottom of some very nefarious shenanigans here at the bottom of Elysium. That's where we'll pick up next week.
Oh my god,
But thank
Oh
you,
my goodness.
players. Thank you for playing today's session. Really loved playing with you all. Any like closing reactions from your character, like as the show comes to a close? Like what's like the freeze frame on your character? Like what's their badass pose, or like as the motion slows down, like what do they look like as we freeze on them?
I think Cassandra is like the sort of is, her hand is still sort of on the shoulder, but she, like, all of her is very tense, and her eyes are still this like blood red that almost looks like it's starting to seep into like the sclera of her eyes from just like the irises, and she's just like has her eyes narrowed and is just staring and just looks very, very determined to
Awesome.
fix whatever this is.
Awesome. What about Delilah?
Delilah is really trying to forget that she's here. Like she's kind of dissociating a little bit, just like behind this like flat, kind of like putting all the emotions in a bottle so that she can access them later, or maybe not. Just forget about that this whole thing ever happened. What the fuck? This is horrifying. She's just still kind of like staring into space.
What about Vara?
I think Vara looks sufficiently mortified. Just because, I mean, this is where she works. This is where she knew the people there, and suddenly they're not, and she can't quite reconcile it yet. except feeling that she had all the information. She had they had a plan. They had a foresight of what they were kind of walking into and what they needed to do, who they needed to speak to. And despite all of her planning, it still wasn't enough. And that's hard for her to handle, and then it's hard for her to process, because for her, if I plan everything right, if I organize everything right, it works out in the job that I have. And that not applying to a real life situation where she sees no one there is very jarring for her.
So as the three heroes stand kind of staggered with like Cassandra at the front and then Delilah and then Vara, the camera kind of like moves between them as it moves out of the factory, and we see Cassandra's red eyes, Delilah's like kind of blank but like haunted stare, and then Vara, as you like hold the paperwork in your hand and like it just begins to like slip a little in your hands, your grip loosens on the paperwork a little bit as you consider like the amount of control that you have in this situation. The camera pans up and out of the water and like dripping wet as it like moves out of the ocean up into the sky. We see again just a glimpse of Mount Olympus, this place of opulence and plenty, as the credits roll. And that is where we will pick up next week on our campaign of Monster of the Week. So thank you all. Join us again next Sunday at 9 a.m. Central. We will be joined by this wonderful cast of folks. I will put players in chat here so you can see. Hopefully that works. Maybe it doesn't. Oh, thank you, Stream Elements, for working. To see who our players are. And then, yeah, give us a follow. Much appreciated. Share this with friends. We do RPGs on Sundays, video games on Thursdays, and a bunch of nerdy hijinks in between. So thank you all for joining us, and have a great rest of your weekend.